Man up. Manifestations. Man up. Manifestations. Man up. Manifestations.
A place where we inform, build, and inspire.
Manifestations. Man up. Manifestations. Man up. Manifestations. Man up.
A place where we inform.
Manifestations.
A place where we inform, build, and inspire.
You gotta eat what you kill. You gotta go out there. You gotta hunt for your meals.
We all have that ability to connect with people, to be that motivational person in somebody's life.
You gotta let people know there's certain lines you don't cross, and that there's gonna be consequences if you do.
Man up.
If you are an adult and you are in a relationship, that person's emotions are not your responsibility.
Man up. Manifestations. Man up. Manifestations. Man up. Manifestations.
A place where we inform, build, and inspire.
The devil, during slavery, destroyed the masculinity or manhood of the so-called Negro. No man. No man. Right now you got to be trained all over again to be a man.
When someone is obligated to do something, it is binding upon them to do it. And failure to do it causes reaction.
Man up.
Position make you rich? I don't have that type of richness. My richness is life forever.
If that people knew their glorious past, if that people knew their glorious past, if that people knew their glorious past, then they would be more inclined to respect themselves.
I'm not saying I'm going to rule the world or I'm going to change the world, but I guarantee that I will spark the brain that will change the world. And that's our job, is to spark somebody else watching us.
A place where we inform, build, and inspire.
Manifestations. Man up. Manifestations. Man up. Manifestations. Man up.
A place where we inform.
Manifestations.
A place where we inform, build, and inspire.
You want to tell me about yourself? Go get your friends. I'll tell you who you are based on who your friends are.
Don't just live and die. That's an ugly existence. Make your life matter. Make your life count. Live a life where people can actually mourn you for the things you left behind, not just because you were around and existed.
We need strong black nuclear family.
Yes. Yes.
That's what it is. Mother, father, son, daughter, all in the same house with a focus on the family unit as a whole.
We had Tulsa, Atlanta, New Jersey, Detroit. We had Rosewood. We had Black Wall Streets all over.
The Republicans aren't for us, but the Democrats aren't for us either. And we should have no alliance to any political party. We only have alliance to what is in our own best interest.
A place where we inform, build, and inspire.
Manifestations. Man up. Manifestations. Man up. Manifestations. Man up.
A place where we inform.
Manifestations.
A place where we inform, build, and inspire.
At the end of the day, as men in the community, we must stand together and be counted, because people look to us for guidance, leadership, and protection. And if we are not about that business, we are not on our job. Here we have grown-ass man conversations in the spirit of that purpose. Anthony Malcolm, Bobby Drake, Major Gage. We are. This is Manifestations 2020.
Manifestations. Man up. Manifestations.
A place where we inform, build, and inspire.
Welcome to another week of Manifestations 2020. What up, Major? What they do?
What's
Get them, Major.
Oh, that song get me hyped, boy. I just want to beat
know.
somebody else whenever I hear that song. Like, it get me, you know what I'm saying? It get me turned, bro. Like, because that's us right
Definitely.
Ooh. Bobby.
Bobby.
What's crack-a-lacking?
A place where we build, inform, and inspire. You dig?
That
you already know. that's the shit.
Yeah.
All right, so we got another dope week for you guys. As you guys can see, if you haven't already read the flyer, this week we're talking about repairing the broken trust in relationships. Definitely going to be very informative tonight. We have a lot of information for you. So definitely want to start it off by turning it over to Bobby, because Bobby was the one who came up with this topic. So let him speak on it a little bit before we get into it. Bobby, take it over.
No, absolutely, absolutely. Happy Sunday, everybody. So this was a topic that was bumping around for a little bit. And I don't know, there wasn't anything that stood out about it specifically. This seemed as good a time as any for it. But, you know, we have a lot of issues in relationships, and it's not just romantic relationships, but relationships with people, period, where we have people that do wrong by each other, because the reality is that we are a bunch of imperfect people on this planet. And as long as you have imperfect people, you're going to have these people doing imperfect things. So when we're dealing with other human beings who have their own thoughts, ideas, feelings, sensibilities, you know, their own issues, whatever, oftentimes the wires get crossed, so to speak. You might step on a toe, you might say the wrong thing, do the wrong thing, and you're going to cause a rift with this person. Now, the question becomes, what happens when something is done that really crossed the line or really crossed the boundary for the person, where now a simple, you know, just brush and shrug it off isn't going to cut the mustard now? There's an actual process where forgiveness needs to take place. You reach that fork in the road where it's, do we continue from here or do we go our separate ways? And oftentimes what happens in between is going to really do a lot to determine that. Now, some people have deal breakers where there's certain lines that you just don't cross, period. And if you do that, it's off with your head. We're done for good. Other people, there are some issues where you can be a little on the fence, and there's some people where they're just open to forgive no matter what. Not here to tell anyone what they should do. I would always lean and advise other people to err on the side of forgiveness if possible. But at the same time, you have to also take into account what that means. There's ways to go about doing it, because everything isn't always for other people. Now, a lot of people will tell you that forgiveness isn't for the other person. Forgiveness is for yourself, first and foremost, that it's not about the other person. We've kind of touched on this in the past a little bit, but specifically we're talking about what happens, or how do we mend the fences in the relationships. My thoughts on the topic, and I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about it later on, is first and foremost, you have to be unselfish with seeking forgiveness. That's a reality that people don't like to hear, because it can be scary, because, you know, like the saying goes, if you can't take the heat, get out the kitchen. A lot of people like to dish certain things up, but they can't take it when it comes back to them, right? So they'll do something foul, they'll do something dirty, they'll do something hurtful that really puts a strain or possibly even breaks the relationship. And they do that, they get that out their system, right? But now this person who's a bull in the china shop, so to speak, now when it comes to forgiveness, they want to tiptoe on eggshells. You know, they're scared, you know, well, I'm afraid that they're not, what happens if they don't forgive me? You kind of threw that out the window when you did what you did or said what you said. The reality is, when you go about the process of seeking forgiveness, of mending a broken or damaged relationship, you have to go into it fully accepting, fully open to the possibility that no matter what you say, no matter what you do, there might not be any coming back from this. This might be the end. Now, it could be that the fences are mended and you get to go on about your business, and this becomes just a epic chapter in the book of the relationship that with this person that you're in. On the other hand, it could be that this is the final nail in the coffin. This was the death blow, And from now on, it's just going to be daisies growing from this soil going forward. However, my advice to people is, first and foremost, if you are genuine and sincere, when you go about seeking forgiveness, you have to understand that this is about the other person's rehabilitation first and foremost. So one of the things that I know for a fact messes a lot of people up, and we see this all the time when, in particular, this happens with betrayal, infidelity especially. People like to try and be overlords and kind of control the information that gets out there. So you might see someone say, well, you know, I cheated on my significant other, I cheated on my wife, I cheated on my husband, but, you know, it wasn't just one time, it was multiple times. So they try and say, well, you know, I just had an affair one time, and they try to just, you know, keep the rest of it covered up. Or you hear people say, I'd never tell my significant other I do this. Is you crazy? That'd be the end of the relationship. But when the dirt comes out later on, because it always comes out, might not be overnight, but at some point the information is going to come out, and 9.9 times out of 10 when it does, it's always going to be in the worst possible way, worst possible scenario. And then at that point, the person is going to want to be forgiven in most cases. Well, forgive me, I'm sorry, you know, I didn't mean to. Are you really sorry, or are you sorry that you got caught? It's two totally different things. So one of the things you have to do first and foremost is you owe it to the other person to be forthcoming 100%. Whatever it is that you said, whatever it is that you did, you do not have the right to put a filter on that. If you want true, genuine, real forgiveness, the kind where you don't have to go looking behind your shoulder, you don't have to go stepping on eggshells, you have to get all the gory details out there. Leave no stone unturned, because this other person needs to have full understanding and comprehension of just what the hell this is that you've placed them in now. They need to know that. And I know some situations in the past where people have tried to do that. They tried to pretty it up. They tried to hide or withhold certain information. And so they might even be slick. They might admit to a little bit of it, but not the really harsh stuff. And then later on, the rest of it comes out. And so the person's like, but I thought you said such and such. And then all that good, the goodwill, all the good feelings, not only does it get thrown out the window, but now you've hurt this person for a second time, because they now have to relive the BS that you originally put them through. But now they have to live with the fact that once again, you have been dishonest with them. Once again, you've broken the trust. You lied to them for the second time. And in most cases, when you do that, there is no walking back from it. Because now, even in the process of making good, you've made it plain and clear that they can't trust you. You lied, or you betrayed the person, you stabbed in the back. Then you, quote unquote, call yourself fessing up to it, which really was telling white lies because you omitted the truth. So you only told a filtered truth. Then they can find out, yeah, you're lying again. So there's no redemption for you at that point. When you put it in another person's lap, again, you have to be open to the idea that they may not forgive you, that they may forgive you, but they're unwilling to continue the journey with you anymore. They appreciate what you had to tell them. They thank you for your courage and your honesty, but they can't go through it. They can't possibly look you in the face or continue whatever it is that you all had before. That's a possibility. But then now, if this person has forgiven you, they've said that they'll forgive you, that they're working on it, they're willing to go beyond this moment, you need to be open and receptive to earning back the trust that was damaged. So you need to do what is in this person's best interest to go ahead and restore their faith in you, your credibility. You have to go ahead and show the person that you're putting in the effort to be trustworthy, to show them that you've changed, that you're different, that you were who you were, and now you are who you are, and those two people are different. You have to be willing to do that. And that might be a little bit of a tough road. Redemption usually is like that. But if this person is valuable to you, if you care about this person, and if you're truly remorseful, this should be the least of your worries. And quite frankly, you should be grateful that this person has decided that they don't want to cast you away, that they're willing to continue going forward with you.
Well
now,
said.
that's for the person who's done the wrongdoing. There is a little bit now for the person that is seeking to give the forgiveness. Now, you need to be 100% honest with yourself now, because this person may have in the moment been a scumbag, but there's opportunities here for you to become a scumbag yourself as well. And one thing that's really foul is when you have a person who is messed up, they're genuine, sincere, they're contrite, they're willing to make amends, they want to do whatever it takes, and you knowing full and good damn well that you either don't want to forgive this person or can't forgive this person, decide you're going to string them along and you're going to torture them now. So every time they take a step forward, you're going to hold it over their head. It's always being tossed in their face. You have arguments, it's always brought up. As soon as things are rocky, that's being put out there, whatever. In other words, you're trying to get revenge on this person and make them suffer for causing you pain. That is uncalled for, and that, quite frankly, is despicable. You owe it to this person. Now, again, this person is a flawed human being, but you are as well. I'm pretty sure it's safe to say that most people have done something foul or wrong to somebody at one point in time, whether it was intentional or otherwise. And the same way how you yourself would like to be forgiven, you owe to that person to give forgiveness as well. If that is not possible, at least not at this moment, that's fine. But you need to let that person know, cut ties, and go on about your business so they can go ahead on with their life and you can go on with your life. It's not going to work anymore. Thanks for coming. It is what it is. When you go ahead now and make this person into the victim now, you are doing yourself a disservice as well, because that's not going to do you any favors. You're not going to feel better by torturing or victimizing this person. And ultimately, you're still living in the moment. This is the exact opposite of what forgiveness is supposed to do. Now, not only are you holding this over this person's head, but you got to held over your head too, because in order to keep that weighing on them like that, you've got to keep living in that moment. You got to keep feeling that hurt, that pain, that frustration, all those negative emotions. You are making sure that you are always in there for the purposes of putting the other person in that same predicament. So whatever it is you decide to do, be honest, be sincere. Can you work through this? Can you not work through this? Communicate, talk to the other person. What does this timetable look like? Obviously, you're probably not going to forgive them in 24 hours if it's that severe. Obviously, no one's expecting that. But realistically speaking, how long should this process take? What can be done or what should be done? Don't just tell the person you have to earn the trust back. That's vague. That could be anything. That could be something as simple as saying, I'm sorry 5 times a day for the next week or two. Or it could be something extreme as pulling a Diddy, hashtag no Diddy, and telling them, well, you better go ahead and walk all the way to Queens and get me some cheesecake and bring it back by foot. I mean, what does this look like? What does this person need to do? What do you need to see out of this person? How long should we expect this to take? Are we going to have any checkups? Again, communication, because odds are in a lot of cases, what got you all in this position in the first place is a breakdown in communication. Needs or wants not being communicated properly, and things got tossed aside, and then people were operating on bad information or no information whatsoever. You didn't put certain things out there. Needs weren't communicated. You went to go get them sought after elsewhere, whatever the case may be. So there needs to be a plan in place, because if you don't have order, if you don't have structure, chaos is always going to rule the day. That's true in anything. So once that timetable is reached, how are we looking? Are we doing better? Are we on the road there? Are we making progress? Or are we right back where we started from? Have we gone nowhere? And let this be known, because again, what you don't want to do for either person is to waste time. If it's not going to work, it's not going to work. Life is a whole a party of meetings and partings. That's how it is. We come together, some people in your life for a season, some people for a lifetime. And no one knows how long those seasons are going to be. So if this doesn't work, there's no shame. There's no shame in calling it quits, especially if you tried. But respect each other's time and feelings. And if this is not going to bear any fruit, set them free to go ahead, and continue their life, and you go ahead and continue your life. What do you gentlemen got to say on it?
Dope. That was a great breakdown. Lead into it. I just want to give the definition real quick, so then we can start it off. All right. So, where did I put it? I know I got it here somewhere. Hold on. I just moved it up. I know I did. Here we go. All right. So we're talking about repairing the broken trust in relationships. For the people that don't know what repair mean and how it's used in the context, fix or mend a thing suffering from damage or fault, made good or put right. So that's basically the definition of repair. Just want to get that clarity out there. Major, you want to dive off into it before we head into these next slides of getting into more details of repairing?
I would just say this, a lot of people, when you talk to, I was just talking to a friend of mine not too long ago, and he's married, and he was just telling me, he did some stuff in his marriage, and the divorce word came up, and he really got in some hot water, and he was kind of describing to me, some of the stuff that went down or whatever the case may be, and how he got in the situation he was in, and I'll say this, I think that people need to really, really be mindful of how seriously they take marriage and relationships. I know that we're talking about it in a more broad sense where we can apply it to other situations besides just marriage. But, marriage in particular, since we discuss dating and relationships a lot on this show, it's so serious. And I don't think a lot of us really take it that seriously. And, the brother was breaking down the situation, and it couldn't escape my thought process that what he did is not something that he could have avoided. Mm-hmm. You understand what I'm saying? And I got on him real good about it. He's still my brother, but I was very disappointed because I know he's a sharper dude than that. You know what I'm saying? And the same thing can happen in friendships. The same thing can happen in family. I want to just stress to people when we start talking about repairing broken relationships and so forth, I think that the best defense is a good offense. And to me, a good offense in this regard is not to screw up your relationship in the first place. Okay, that's a very good strategy to me, because there are so many. It sounds so simple, but it's not. You know what I'm saying? Because the type of stuff he's describing is stuff that I would never do. I'm like, dude, you are wild, bruh. You did what? And your wife's there? Whoa! My head exploded. And I just want to stress to people, the best way of doing that to help avoid being put in this situation is to simply put your best foot forward.
Yeah.
At all times and take it very seriously, because people by and large don't do that. They expect to enter the situation on some take me as I am shit, and they expect everything to just fall into place.
Correct.
I want to really put this out there to people because I hear people say this dumb shit all the time, and I just want to dispel this myth. Mm-hmm. Marriage is hard work.
It is.
It is not. 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 It does not have to be hard work. And if you tell yourself that it's hard work, you're mentally preparing yourself to not want to deal with it because it's hard work. Who likes hard work?
True.
Marriage is not necessarily hard work. It can be, but it's not necessarily hard work. And I think that we need to reposition the way that we approach marriage.
Correct.
As thinking that it's hard work, as thinking it's this chore, it's this thing that I gotta do. Man, I still talk to my wife till 4 a.m. We've been married for a little over a year, but we've been together for 4.5 years now. You understand? Correct. And we've carried ourselves as though we were married that whole time.
Correct.
It's not as difficult as people make it out to be, or it doesn't have to be. But we need to retrain our whole thought process to make that simpler. Because we go into marriage thinking that it's hard work, thinking that it's a burden, thinking that it's something that we have to do. No, it should be something that you want to do. I asked my wife to marry me because nothing in the world could have made me happier, not because I had to do it. If I had to do it, that defeats the whole purpose. So I really want to hear people stop saying that. I want to create a movement. You know what I'm saying? Where we dispel ourselves of that myth, because that's just what it is. And I just want to co-sign one of the points that Bobby made and make sure that I highlight that. You know, we start talking about repairing relationships and so forth and so on. If you've agreed to repair it, make it do what it do.
Yeah.
Don't harp on shit and keep bringing up shit that you've already told somebody you've forgiven them for. If you're not going to forgive them, let it ride. You know, just do you. Fall back. You know, but if you say that you're going to forgive them for it, really forgive them for it and allow it to grow and mature and move on to the next level. Those two things are, you know, that's what I felt on that.
Let me toss a tail real quick on what you were saying before, because I think that is important, and I like that angle that you came at it from, Major.
Yeah,
marriage is every bit as difficult or as easy as you make it. So
it really is.
If you want it to be hard and a pain in the ass, it's going to be that. If you want it to be a joy, a breeze, if you want it to be something that you're grateful for every single day, it's going to be that. It all depends on what you're willing to, what energy, what mindset, and what actions you're willing to bring to it.
Right.
That's cool.
It can be, but you don't want it to be.
And it's for a lot of people, but it's also great for a lot of people too.
Yes.
So again,
I'm glad you guys made that point, because it is harder to run with no shoes on a hot concrete than it is to run with shoes on a concrete, right? So what makes it hard is the tools and the resources you lack in the relationship. So if I come into the relationship and I'm not putting all the things in it to build the relationship up for it to be operating on a smooth level, that's kind of like me going in a relationship with no shoes on, running on a concrete surface for a long time. It's going to be hard. It's not going to stop me from being in this marriage, but the process is going to be very tedious and very hard. Every time I step, even though I have to step in that direction, it's going to be very painful because I have my feet, my bare feet on the hot concrete. But if I invest in the right ways, if I do the right things, I now have protective shoes over my feet. So when I'm walking and doing, it doesn't bother me. It's smooth. It's a transition. It's natural. You get what I'm saying? So I think, like you guys say, it's how you make it. A lot of times, the reason why we have people that say it's hard is because a lot of them have built it on a fucked up foundation. I don't mean to curse on a Sunday, but let's just call it what it is. You're building a house on quicksand. You started off on quicksand. So the foundation has been wobbly ever since. A lot of times we don't do the vetting process, like Major always stressed with us. We don't vet the right person at the right time. I think a lot of times we go in, and I have a video for that, right? I have a video for that. Let me play the video, and then I can expound a little bit more on that. I'm glad you guys made that point. So let me
investigation. It don't matter how much you like them. Kitty and I were talking backstage, man, and like be getting people fucked up.
Nah, for real.
Like done got folks pregnant. Like done got folks burnt. Like done, because whether you should be in a relationship with somebody and whether you like them, two completely different things. I don't purchase every pair of shoes I like. I didn't get every car because I liked it. I didn't move into the place I live in just because I liked it. Like is basic as fuck. I like cheeseburgers, nigga. That don't mean I should be eating at Mickey D's. Because don't that technically qualify as some shit that I like, but ain't it bad for me? And that's what a lot of folks be doing, is like, you just like some shit enough and you get close to it and you get close to it and you get close to it and you've done no homework over whether that person is trustworthy, whether they communicate well. You just like them. The vibe's good. Y'all stop using protection. Shouldn't be fucking in the first place, but y'all done stop using protection because you like each other. You feel me? Bruh, I don't care if that shit unpopular to say. Y'all too goddamn old to be letting like govern how you move with other adults.
Oh,
Like is some shit we used to write notes about in middle and high school. Do you like me? Yes or no? We grown now. I have to pay taxes.
Hey.
Like I pay taxes at the end of the year. I don't give a fuck if you like me. What do you have going on? What do you actually add to my life? I have some beautiful shit going on. I'm walking in my blessings. Can you add to that? Can you handle that? Us liking each other is cool. Like, that's great. That's a great start. But marriage, like, it's gonna be times y'all don't fucking like each other. What do you do then? Do you have the ability to compromise? Do you have the ability to work with your partner and move forward at times that y'all don't agree? You feel me? And that's what I mean, bro. Like is some basic. You can't do nothing with like. You can't sustain a relationship with it. You can't start a marriage with it. You can't raise kids with the shit. That's why some people come and ask these questions, because they operated off like, and when the like is gone, they have no idea what the fuck to do.
Oh, clap it
and
up.
I'm saying this from a sincere place, bro. Stop.
All right. Just wanted
Hey, man.
Nuclear.
We can just cut the show off right now.
What?
Ain't no more dragging it on.
Oh shit!
I'm not trying to follow behind that.
What?
Yeah.
Oh,
Bro,
my
bro,
God.
and Bernie Mac on the stage. All right, who following him up? Me?
Bruh. Oh, sweet baby Jesus! That
lot
boy
to
went
unpack.
nuclear.
Yes.
That's
definitely.
a lot to unpack. My
But
God.
we need that type of realness and that type of, people need to see that transparency to understand that a lot of times, we complain about a hole that we have dug the hole ourselves and placed ourselves in, and then complain about how deep it is, and then looking around for people to help you out the hole. And guess what? You finally get somebody to help you out the hole, and guess what your dumb ass go do? Dig another hole to go jump right back into.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And the repeated process. And that's why we always talk about breaking generational curses, because of that same stigma. You know what I'm saying? That we keep doing the same thing. And what they call that, I know a lot of people say it's insanity, right? Doing the same crazy stuff over and over, getting the same results. When do you change? You notice what's crazy to me? What I notice a lot, you notice the women that act real reckless in their young years. You ever notice when they get like 30, 35, you notice that they change? And you know why they change? They get saved, right? They go right into the church, and then everything, now they start studying, they're graduating, they're getting degrees, their lives turn around. But what did that start with? A lot of times people credit it to God. I'm not here to tell you who to credit your success to, but I know one thing, one major factor is when you change your life, it was the person looking in the mirror to assess themselves and say, this ain't it.
Very true.
Once you get to that level of saying, this ain't it, and I want better, and you change things around, and you see that you're having a better result with the change, the new you, it's like, that's what you needed all along. And sometimes people don't get to that level till later in their years, and sometimes people go to the grave not getting it on the right track. So that's why that's why we created this platform, to get you guys in the right mindset. Like I tell people before, when it's 20-year-old guys that I'm out here talking to, I'm not braining them to be like, hey man, you got to get married. I'm gonna tell you, do what you feel that's in your best interest to go out here and succeed in this world. If you find somebody that you like, go ahead, see if they're serious with it, lock them down and start life. If you feel that you're not ready, go out there and tell these women, look, man, I'm not ready. I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't want a relationship. I just want to have fun. And wrap your stuff up and go out there and have fun, but do it in a respectable way and not a reckless way. When you got nobody's teaching these younger generation of men out here, and then they recklessly using their penis, and they have about 4 or 5 children. Now, what I've noticed now on these shows, these dating shows, guess what? These women ain't playing now. Before, women be like, "Hey, you got kids? I don't care." Now, women like, "Man, look, I don't want no guy with no kids. I want to start a family. I want him and me to not have no children, and let's start a family together." And I love it. I love the women setting the standards. I love the men setting the standards, because there's men out here that say, "I don't want no woman with no children." So now we're gonna create a family together, fresh from start. I love it. I love it because the mindset changed, and you're gonna see the reflection of that in our community. Go ahead, Major.
Right. Listen. Ooh, it's a couple of things. I'm just so amped up off of that because, gang, this guy's like he's reading my mind. He's channeling me. He's channeling the relationship book of questions through speaking on that panel, because that is what the book is about. Grow the fuck up. It's simple as that.
Yeah.
You understand? How long have I talked about how some of us are perpetual teenagers? How many times have I said that on this show?
Yep.
Correct.
You got to grow up at some point. You know what I'm saying? You got to grow up at some point. And that's what he's saying. You know, at the end of the day, you have to look for a person who is going to be an asset and not a liability.
Correct.
That's the number one thing. And somebody who fits into your system, number 2. If you can get those 2 things together, you're cooking with hot grease. It's not a lot. It's not a lot, but it takes discipline to, you know, tell the chick that looks like Megan Good to take a fucking hike. I've done it countless times. You understand? Because I don't give a damn what you look like. See, I tell all the young guys that I mentor, you got to get used to pussy. And when I say get used to pussy, I'm talking about you got to get used to getting pussy from attractive women. And I let it be known that that's what I mean. These dudes who get out here and get a piece of ass and lose their goddamn mind, it's because they're not used to pussy.
Correct.
You understand? Once you're used to it and you get your confidence up and it's something that you just kind of expect it's going to be there, you a whole new nigga. You dig? And so we need to get in that space where, you know, this is not a reward. This is not, I'm going to get some nookie. Fuck that. You need to learn, gentlemen, to appreciate yourselves. You need to learn to respect yourselves. You need to see yourself as a prize. And I don't mean that to say that women can't also be a prize or whatever the case may be, but men devalue themselves at the expense of pursuing women.
Yeah.
That shit gotta stop. How are you going to be the leader in the household and in the community and you don't value yourself? Gentlemen, I'm just saying, I mean, middle-aged women, and I want to get back to the middle-aged women point that, you know, they wake up one day and find Jesus and all this shit. You know, and look, I'm not going to say that sometimes it's not real, right? But a lot of the time, it comes from having a horrible experience or looking in the mirror. You mentioned looking in the mirror and seeing something or wanting to see something different. I say looking in the mirror and seeing a horrible image. You understand what I'm saying? You got some women that find God because they want to try to pray away all them dicks. You understand what I'm saying? They've been hopping from dick to dick for the last 15 years, and they want to try to cleanse themselves of all of their sexual promiscuity. Okay? You got them. And I won't say that it's fake, but you have to understand that this comes from a place often of iniquity and self-hatred, you know, that they do this type of stuff. You know, Blac Chyna is the first person that comes to mind when I think about this. Not to say that that's what happened to that sister, but it sure kind of looks like it. You know, it doesn't always have to be like that. But when you see that one day out of the clear blue fucking sky, this chick who was the freak of the week is in church every day. You know what I'm saying? Something might have went left.
Yeah.
Some of these women out here, they go to the doctor and some shit come back. Ain't looking right. They done caught HIV or chlamydia or syphilis or gonorrhea or something. You understand? And they're like, oh my God, and it's a scare. And they feel like they need to do something drastic and now. Fellas got to understand that when we out here in the game, because when we see it, we assume that it's real. And the reason why I say we have to understand the danger of that is because if it's not real, then you go into that relationship dealing with the person as though it is real without properly vetting this sudden epiphany that they've had. I'm speaking about people that are just kind of over the top, you know, and just kind of all of a sudden with their actions. You understand what I'm saying? That's some shit you got to vet too, if we just gonna keep it a trillion, right? And the last thing I want to address when we're talking about this dating and relationship stuff, in the context of what that brother just said, which by the way, what he said was brilliant. I cannot go addressing the first thing without addressing the second thing that I hate to hear people say. When you call people out on their bullshit, what's the first thing they say? I'm not perfect.
Yeah.
That's the first fucking thing they say. I'm not perfect. And
or who are you to judge?
Or who are you to judge? We can throw that in there too, right? And my thing is this, I'm going back to my initial point, but I'm making it with these points, with these bullet points. Now, again, you're not putting your best fucking foot forward. You understand what I'm saying? Yes, I'm not perfect. No one is perfect. So who are we to judge, right? But just because someone is calling you out on your bullshit doesn't mean they're judging you. That doesn't mean that they're judging you. That's the first thing. And you notice anytime some of these little scallywags that we know, whenever we call them out on their bullshit, they talk about what? How judgmental we are. I'm not perfect. That's bullshit.
What's wrong with that?
Listen, we all understand that you're not perfect. I'm not perfect either, but you know what I can do? I can keep myself from doing things that are despicable. I can keep myself from despicable acts. I can prevent that. You understand what I'm saying? If that were the case and no one should be quote unquote judged for any of the wrongs that they do, well, why don't we just take pedophiles and send them out to elementary schools? They're not perfect. That is some of the
Stop judging them.
That is some of the dumbest shit that people say. It really annoys me when people say that stupid shit. I'm not perfect, and who are you to judge? Man, shut the fuck up. You know what I'm saying? Listen, at the end of the day, if we are putting our best foot forward, we can avoid doing some of the iniquitous things that we do. And if those things are avoidable, then we should be avoiding them. You understand? We should treat the people that we care about with kid gloves. We should treat them with the utmost respect and as much love as possible. Yeah, you're going to make some mistakes here and there, but you won't commit atrocities, nigga. You understand what I'm saying? That's all I'm saying. There are mistakes, and then there's that shit that y'all do that you don't want to be called out on. And so you come up with these ridiculous, asinine statements about how, you know, you're not perfect and who are you to judge? Man, grow up. That's all I'm saying.
All right.
Truth in the
Definitely.
booth.
So I will. Oh, go ahead, Bobby.
Real quick, I can't let what that brother said go to waste. Major got a lot of juice out the orange. I want to see if I can get some seeds out the fruit a little bit.
Go for it.
First off, what he was saying was so on the mark. I mean, dude's marksmanship is like at 1,000. He blindfolded, both arms tied behind his back, aiming with his feet, and he still hit the thing right through and through.
Sick.
What he said, a lot of that goes back to what we were talking about a little bit last week. And where he's talking about this whole like business. And it's amazing you said that, because I've had this conversation before. It's been a minute, but it's remarkable just how on point that is. This whole like business got people out here taking L's left, right, and center. But a large part of that is because when you look at the people who are around now, a lot of them come from these broken family homes. This idea of, we can only make moves when we're in like. What happens if we're married or we're in a committed relationship and we don't like each other right now? Or, how do we progress without that automatically turning into divorce? Because just because I don't like you right now, we don't like each other right now, doesn't mean that we won't get back to good tomorrow, next week. This is one of the things that we lose, and is so valuable, and we're not aware of it until later on in life, if we even become cognizant of it at all, when we do not have an intact family structure. If you did not grow up with your mother and father together in love, in marriage, under the same roof, what he's talking about is going to be foreign to you, because you've never seen couples resolve issues. You've never seen dad say something slick to mom, or mom say something really low to dad. Or maybe you didn't see what happened, but you just know mom and dad aren't speaking, they're upset with each other. Or, dad's stayed out all night, or dad's working extra hours because he doesn't want to be home, or mom's always out with the girlfriends, whatever. And then later on they reconcile. You don't get to see that. You are not going to, and you shouldn't. That's that's bad parenting right there. And I'll say that what it is. I don't care if you don't like it. But you don't get to, and you shouldn't, as a child, get to see your mother dealing with this with her boyfriends. You shouldn't see this with your father dealing with girlfriends. You're not going to see that, because usually you don't see your parents' significant other, whoever they're dating, until it gets to the point where you're engaged, or whether this person's going to be there for the long haul. So if you're in a dating relationship and something goes left, it's no problem to cut off. There's nothing tying you in place. But if you've never been raised in a situation, you don't know what that looks like. You don't know what you don't know. So therefore, it doesn't matter what your parents might have told you, what your mom might have told you, what your dad might have told you. If you've never watched this resolution taking place, if for you it's unnormalized to see two people who say that they care about each other work through their issues, then you're not going to know how to do it. So even if you know you should, you don't know the first step. Or you can go to the other end of the spectrum, and now you're hyper individualized, where you don't want to go ahead and try to work with anybody because you're divorcing yourself from everything that doesn't serve me. How many times have we heard that nonsense before? The second point I want to make on that is we have to be honest with ourselves, and this is where accountability, self-awareness, and really doing that work comes into play, because the reality is these things that trip us up and get us messed up, even if it's foul and degenerate, we have to be honest the fact that whether it's a whole part of us or just a little part of us, we like that shit. Why am I saying that? Because some of these things that we get caught up in, we try to play like this is something that's completely foreign from us. We don't know how it happened, or this isn't like us. No. Again, every single one of us is imperfect. There are certain things that we're more likely to get caught up in than others. There's some people, I mean, right now, and I'm not saying this, it could be this way, it could not be this way, I don't know. But Ant might be the most trustworthy, loyal brother when it comes to your significant other. You could probably, if you had to go out of town overseas for a month or two, you said, hey, Ant, man, my wife's not doing the best right now, or she's all by herself. We live in a rough neighborhood. Can you come check on her nightly? Just make sure she's good, make sure the house is locked up, take care of anything around the house that needs to be taken care of while I'm gone, whatever. And Ant is so rock solid. He wouldn't even miss and think twice the wrong way about your significant other. That's like his sister. The idea of doing something foul with her, even if she tried to do it with him, that's like touching his mother. Ew, gross. He wants no part of it. It's not going to happen. That could be him. But now don't miss and leave $5 around Ant. That thing might come up missing. So he may not be Mr. Steal Your Girl, but he might be Mr. Steal Your Dollar, Mr. Steal Your Wallet, Mr. Steal your paycheck that you've endorsed, you haven't cashed yet. That could be him. All right. So there's certain things, there's certain vices, certain bad habits, certain character failings that we all have to a degree. And we have to be honest and mindful with ourselves about that so we don't put ourselves in those situations in the first place. Like you said, Major, again, talking about marriage or whatever, or making the smart choice. If you know yourself, if you're honest with yourself, you'll be able to peep the danger from a mile away and say, you know what? I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to go down that road. The people who typically are very good at that are recovering addicts. And by nature, they have to, because that's partly how they're trained. But also for them, it can be literally a matter of life or death. If you ever been around someone who's an alcoholic and they're sober, they'll tell you, hey, man, they go, hey, there's a party? Yeah, man, come to the birthday party. It's going to be great. All right. Who else can be there? No, I'm bad. All right. Is there going to be alcohol there? Yeah, man, there might be some liquor. I can't go, man. I'm not at the point where I can do that, whatever. And they won't go. Some people, when they've reached a certain level of sobriety, they're really strong, or they're in a really good solid place. They might be able to be around that, even if they feel little pricks in the neck, whatever. And they're right there sipping their soda, sipping their water, sipping their tea or whatever. They may have that ability in them. And then there might be times where they know they're going through a rough patch, where they know they're very vulnerable. So now they know I can't be anywhere where there's any temptations because I can't fall for that. I know what might happen.
Yeah.
You have to have that level of self-awareness. And unfortunately, it shouldn't take a drug habit or an issue with alcohol to get to the level of self-awareness. We can all reach that level of self-awareness.
True.
If you know you got a watering eye, bruh, stay at the club. Don't pop up on Tootsie's or King of Diamonds or any strip club. Don't do that. You know you got a shoot. You know that you got a neighbor that's always throwing you the eye, whatever. Let a significant other know.
Real
Babe,
talk.
This dude keeps checking me out. I'm not comfortable. Can you do something about it? Can you talk to him, or what can we do? Or babe, you know, your homegirl, she keeps throwing eyes at me. I don't want to do anything untoward. I'm just letting you know nothing's happened, but I'm not stupid. I know she's making attempts. I'm saying something now so we can check it.
Right.
Be preemptive about it.
Agree.
And the last thing I want to say on that also is, this is a conversation I was having with some brothers the other day. We have to learn to get out of our own heads. All right. We have to be realistic, and we have to learn how to see the situation for what it is, not the way we want it to be. You know, sometimes we make plans, we have these visions, and this also kind of ties into the whole forgiveness thing as well, too, when it comes to making amends about what's possible, what's feasible, if this can be done or whatever. But sometimes we get to a point where the fantasies or the reality we cook up in our heads about the situation that we're in or trying to get in is so amazing and wonderful. And reality is a broken down ass shed. It's horrible. This isn't working. It's not serving anything. It's a whole mess. But rather than live in reality, we're living in our heads. And so we're seeing something that's not there. We're operating with the world around us in a way that is not adding up. And so we're catching L's. We're putting ourselves in bad situations. We're holding on to things longer than we need to. We're letting go of things sooner than we should because we're not operating based off of what is in front of our eyes and ears and our nose and our hands. We're living in this VR AI fantasy world. And we're wondering, dang, everything's so bad. Why does this keep happening? Why do I keep messing this up? Because you're not being honest with yourself. You're not being for real. And I was telling some brothers the other day, you know, one of the reasons why it's so difficult in some cases to get out of bad relationships or move on afterwards, or even why it's so difficult when facing rejection to not have an adverse reaction to the person who's turning us down, is because we already have this whole little make-believe world cooked up in our heads. And when it's clashing against reality, we can't accept it. We can't just move on. We can't say, okay, you know, it is what it is. No. Learn how to live in the world as it is. Yes, you can plan ahead. You can say, I'd like for this outcome to be a thing. I like to work towards this. You know, I think we can have this great future together. Or, you know, I think this is the right path to make. You can do those things. You're supposed to. But don't live there. That's not your address. You look at it in the Google Maps, but that's not actually your destination. You're trying to get there. It'd be nice if you can get there, but that's not where you actually are. You have to live based on where you are and act accordingly. But that was that's some powerful footage you dug up there. And that was
definitely
thermonuclear, bro.
Always find them. That's why this show is so powerful, because nobody's bringing it the way we bring it. Like you guys say, we have a problem with men and women. More women do this than men, but they have the infatuated ideal of a perfect mate. But in reality, it's not the perfect mate. It's you have the situation of a perfect reality, well, your fantasy reality, and you take any person and you stick them in spot, right? In place of your quote unquote fantasy reality. So you're forcing somebody that is not meant to be in your system, and you're putting them in the system. It's kind of like trying to squeeze a triangle peg inside of a rectangle. It's not fit to work, but you're forcing it, and it just doesn't look right. No matter how close you get it to the hole, it's still going to be out of place. And you don't want to accept that this person is just not fit for your system, because you have this ideal that everybody's going to like this person in your system. So you're doing it for other reasons versus your own self-progression and the long run of having a sustainable mate that will guide you through this real rough life. And that's the major importance of a marriage, selecting somebody, because this life right now is crazy. And you got to, two heads are better than one. We always say that. So you want a solid queen by your side. You want a solid king leading you through this. So it's very important for you to get away from the likes, like he was saying, and get with the substance. Like, I got to get a mate of substance, not a mate that I like. You women running around here, I like a man with beard. And y'all get these guys with beards, and then guess what? The goofy dude shave his beard, and now you're like, oh gosh, damn, he looks horrible without his beard. So you was infatuated with the beard and not the person. What the fuck you expect? You see what I'm saying? And there's a lot of women like that. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely want to dial down in these things real quick and then go to these videos. You wanted to say something real quick, Major?
I was just saying, or you get that person with that beard that's real tall, because that's another stupid thing they like to say, and they just shit all over you. You know what I'm saying? Like, dude, it's nice to have some of the things that you want, but if you don't get them all, and you got a great person, what's the problem?
Yeah,
you gotta stop snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. You dig? You can win if you get out of your own dumbass way. A lot of the time, I had to learn this myself.
Yeah,
ahead,
even children.
Yeah,
when you talk about teenagers, right? Remember, there was always a car you liked. Right now, a lot of the teenagers like the Challengers. The price of a Challenger is up there, but the insurance now, because they have so many accidents, the insurance on some of these Challengers is like $600. The Dodge Chargers and Challengers, because they've been in so many wrecks. Kids just doing crazy stuff because it's madhouse horsepower for a small amount of money. So all the kids are gravitating towards it. So you're telling your child, like, listen, just get you a Honda, save money. It's reliable. The parts last you a long time, this and that. And you're like, nah, man, I like that Challenger. And you're like, well, if you get the Challenger, you're going to have to pay the insurance. And you're like, yeah, I'll pay it. And then you get that Challenger with the payments, man. And you're like, shit, what the hell did I get myself into? Next thing you know, you default. Yeah, you default. Yeah, you either broke, you're defaulting on your insurance. And if you default on your insurance, now your damn license gets suspended because your insurance lapsed. And then if you do that, then maybe you're defaulting on your car payments. A lot of times you might have your parents to help you out, and sometimes they'll let you just suffer because they told you what to do, but because you like it, and that's what happens, you overlook all the negative aspects that come with it. No different when women like a certain person or guys like a certain person, and guess what? They ignore all the red flags because you like the infatuation of your likeness for that person made you tunnel vision and ignore the wider picture with the red flags waving in front of your face. And then you complain about it when you do retrospective and look back and say, damn, the flags were there, the signs were there. How many times we heard people say the signs were there and I didn't even see it? Now you're able to see it because you got your ass in a position where you had to analyze the situation and realize, damn, I did miss it. I did ignore it, you know. So yeah, so let's get into it. All right.
Yeah.
So if you don't have trust, you don't have anything. There's nothing to build on. All right. So step one, put everything in the open. All right. So it's important to remember, even if you and your partner have broken the trust in your relationship, that doesn't necessarily mean that the trust cannot be rebuilt and that the relationship can't be saved. In fact, for a lot of couples who take the right actions after breaking trust, their relationship actually improve after the fall. Those couples that can flog through the can come out better, can come back stronger than they ever were before. All right. Then there is implicit ways to break trust. There's implicit ways to break trust, which are more subtle. That can come up with telling a little white lie or always being late. Other common factors that can break a partner's trust include talking behind their back about things you don't want them to know, or breaking their trust financially by not being transparent about spending habits or debts. I talk about that all the time. You got to worry about these debts, man, because as a man, when you're leading, you're more likely going to take the bulk of the household bills. So you have to know who you're dealing with, because you have some women out here that has 2 or 3 degrees. So you know what I'm saying? That's a hefty thing to factor in. And you know, it's not to deter you away from somebody, but it's just to make you analyze and realize what you're getting into way ahead of time. So number one, put everything out in the open. Number two, whoever broke the trust must apologize. The person who was untrustworthy must obviously have sincere remorse. All right. Number three, make sure your partner feels understood. We always talk about compromising, communication, compromising, and understanding. All of those flow together. So you can communicate with your person, but they have to compromise to understand where you're coming from. I always talk about this all the time when we talk about listen to understand and not listen to react. And that goes for both men and women. All right. Step 4, change the behaviors that led to the break in the trust. These will be different depending on the situations in which trust was broken. If you broke the trust due to not showing up when you said you would, for example, it could mean setting alarms for half an hour before you need to be somewhere. Or if you had an affair, this might mean leaving your phone on the table while at home, or giving your partner access to your social media. All right. Explore other areas of the relationship for weakness. In order for the relationship to truly work in the long run, the entire relationship needs to be evaluated, not just the situation that caused the break in trust. A relationship can be as healthy as 2 people in a relationship. The harsh truth is this: not all trust can be repaired. In some cases, trust is completely destroyed and can never be rebuilt. Sometimes the time required to repair damaged trust is too much for some people to sustain. Although the time it will take to rebuild trust varies based on the situation or the personalities involved, it could take anywhere from 6 months to 2 years for a couple to repair trust. However, if you've been working at it for several years and there's been no progress towards trust, it may be time for you to move on, especially if that same betrayal of trust is committed again. All right.
No doubt.
There is also no, huh?
No, I was just agreeing with it. Real talk.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. There's also no shame in getting, anytime you guys feel like you want to add on to whatever I'm doing, just let me know. There's also no shame in getting outside help for your relationship for someone like a relationship therapist or coach. In fact, it can only benefit you as a couple. Oftentimes, people need the guide as how to move forward. Trust issues can be resolved. It just takes a little bit of work. All right, rebuilding the trust when you hurt someone. Consider why you did it before you embark on the process of rebuilding the trust. You'll first want to check in with yourself to understand why you did it. Apologize sincerely. Give your partner time. Let their needs guide you and commit to clear communication. I think number 3 on this list is very important. You got to give your partner time, because a lot of times people will do something, break the trust, and then tell the person, oh man, it's been this, you need to get over it. It's already, you should have been over it by, no. You got to give them time to let them take it all in and let them go through their process of giving you another chance and being okay with building back that trust again with you. All right. Trust is an essential component of a strong relationship, but it doesn't happen quickly. And once it's broken, it's hard to rebuild. When you think about circumstances that could lead you to lose trust in your partner, infidelity may come to mind right away. But cheating isn't the only way to break trust in relationship. Other possibilities include a pattern of going back on your word or broken promises, not being there for your partner in time of need, withholding or keeping something back, lying or manipulation, a pattern of not sharing feelings openly. What does trust really mean? Before going over how to rebuild trust, it's important to understand what trust is exactly. To start it might be helpful to think of trust as the choice that someone has to make. You can't make someone trust you. You might not choose to trust someone until they show you that they're worthy of it. Next, signs of trust in a relationship. Trust can mean different things to different people. In a romantic relationship, trust might mean you feel committed to the relationship and to your partner. You feel safe with your partner and know that they will respect physical and emotional boundaries. You know your partner listens when you communicate your needs and feelings. You don't feel the need to hide things from your partner. You and your partner respect each other. You can be vulnerable together and you support each other. It's also to understand why trust, it's also important to understand what trust isn't. In a relationship, for example, trust doesn't necessarily mean you tell your partner every single thing that crosses your mind. It's totally normal to have personal thoughts you keep to yourself. Trust also doesn't mean give each other access to bank accounts unless you share them, personal computers, cell phones, social media accounts. You may not mind sharing the information, especially in the case of emergency, but the preference of trust in a relationship generally means you do not need to check up on your partner. You have faith in them and feel able to talk about any concerns you might have. All right. Okay. Rebuilding trust when you've been betrayed. Having someone break your trust can leave you feeling hurt, shocked, evenly physically sick. It might prompt you to consider your relationship and your partner in a different way. If you want to attempt to rebuild the trust, here are some good starting points. All right. Consider the reason behind the lie or betrayal. When you have been lied to, you might not care too much about the reasons behind it, but people do sometimes lie when they simply don't know what else to do. That doesn't make their choice right, but it can help to consider how you might have reacted to their position. Sure, your partner may have betrayed you to protect them, but they may have had a different motive. Were they trying to protect you from the bad news, make the best of a bad money situation, help a family member? Maybe the betrayal of trust resulted from a miscommunication or misunderstanding. Whatever happened, it's important to make sure it's clear that what they did wasn't okay. But knowing the reasons behind the actions may help you decide whether you're able to begin rebuilding the trust you once shared. All right. Communication. Communicate. It might be painful or uncomfortable, but one of the biggest aspects of rebuilding trust after betrayal is talking to your partner about the situation. Set aside some time to clearly tell them how you feel about the situation, why the betrayal of trust hurt you, what you need from them to start rebuilding the trust. Give them a chance to talk, but pay attention to their sincerity. Do they apologize and seem truly regretful, or are they defensive and unwilling to own up to their betrayal? You may feel emotional or upset during the conversation. These feelings are completely valid. If you feel yourself getting too upset to continue communicating in a productive way, take a break and come back to the topic later. All right. Practice forgiveness. If you want to repair a relationship after betrayal, forgiveness is key. Not only will you need to forgive your partner, but you'll also need to forgive yourself. Blaming yourself is in some way of what happened can keep you stuck in self-doubt. That can hurt the chances of your relationship recovery. Depending on the betrayal, it might be hard to forgive your partner or move forward, but try to remember that forgiving your partner isn't saying that what they did was okay. Rather, you're empowering yourself to come to the terms with what happened or leave it in the past. You are also giving your partner a chance to learn and grow from their mistakes. Avoid dwelling on the past. Once you fully discuss the betrayal, it's generally best to put the issue to bed. This means you don't want to bring it up for future arguments. You'll also want to go easy on constantly checking in on your partner to make sure they aren't lying to you again. This isn't always easy, especially at first. You might have a hard time letting go of betrayal and find it difficult to start trusting your partner, especially if you were worried about another betrayal. But when you decide to give the relationship a second chance, you are also deciding to trust your partner again. Maybe you can't completely trust them right away, but you're implying that you give them trust, you'll give trust a chance to regrow. If you can't keep thinking about what happened, or you have misgiving about your partner, future, honestly, or faithfulness, couples counseling can help. But these signs could also indicate you may not be ready to work on a relationship. Consider why you did it before you embark on the process of rebuilding yourself. You first want to check in yourself and understand why you did it. All right. What's the next one? Apologizing sincerely. We talked about that. What's the next one? Give your partner time. We talked about that.
These are all the same ones. It's just going into the definition. It's pretty long already.
Let the needs guide you. Communicate. Yep, we did that one already. How long would it take? Is it worth it? That's up to you whether you feel like it's worth it or not. And you don't have to do it alone. There's like you say, you get a relationship expert or coach and to help you guide there. I do want to play these videos real quick and then I'll let you guys get into it. All right.
What betrayal trauma does to your brain. When someone has been betrayed, and let's talk about what betrayal is. Betrayal, we think of course, someone cheating on you, seeing prostitutes, having an affair with your best friend, someone at work, or you're a husband and your wife has cheated on you with your best friend or neighbor or someone like that. That's the first thing that comes to your mind when you think of betrayal trauma. We call it partner betrayal trauma. If you want to Google that, partner betrayal trauma, you'll find we've done a lot of research on that. And infidelity is part of that. That's one part of betrayal trauma. Another part of partner betrayal trauma is pornography. You think you're living in this great life and you find that your spouse is using pornography and that you're not enough and that what you believed about them isn't true, and then you find out the stuff they're into and it makes it worse and your whole life goes upside down. But then there's also a third part of betrayal trauma. The next part of betrayal trauma is intimacy anorexia. You're married to someone who doesn't give you their heart. They're too busy for you. They blame you. They withhold love. They withhold praise. They use anger and silence. If they have sex, they're not connected, or they're not having sex with you. They can't share their feelings with you. And you feel neglected, alone, and unwanted in your own marriage or your relationship. That's another form of trauma. And that part of betrayal trauma is interesting because all three of these traumas have the same statistical impact on the person. Now I'm going to get to the brain in just a few minutes, but what this does is it can cause depression, weight gain, or weight loss. It can cause a shutdown of them spiritually and emotionally. It can cause PTSD symptoms. I mean, to the 80 or 90 percentile on those symptoms: intrusive thoughts, dreams, not wanting to go out and connect with other people, shutting down. The amount of impact that partner betrayal trauma has on the human spirit, soul, and body is massive. When someone's been betrayed, it's like they've been hit by a truck, but there's no blood anywhere. They're crushed inside, their spirit's crushed, their past is crushed. Who they thought they were to this person, who they thought that person was, the holidays, the vacations, the birthdays, all tainted by now a new narrative, a new story. Their present is destroyed because they don't know what they're going to do. Who is this person? Who am I? Do I have the courage to go forward with them? Do I have the courage to leave them? These are all creating a man or woman to be hyper vigilant, trying to check everything out, making sure everything's safe, make sure they monitor their phone and their computers and where they go and their cars. That's a result of your brain being traumatized. Restlessness, anxiety, and a sense of perpetually being in a protect mode or a guard mode. This alters your ability to regulate your emotions and your mood, to be able to calm yourself down. It's like this app is running in your brain all the time, 24/7. It affects the way you think. It affects the way you actually can reason through problems. And even affects the way you can make decisions and whether they're intelligent or not. Your fear center hijacks your normal functioning, and you find yourself in a world where your emotions can feel out of control. You've never cursed, you've never yelled, you've never been violent, and you find yourself doing all of the above. Your brain has been impacted, and your coping skills are stretched to the very limit because this is a whole nother way of having to live. It can also go into that fight mode. Okay, where you're just all your resources are gonna be solving the problem. How do we get him help? How do we get her help? What do we need to do? What's the next thing? How do we make sure this never happens again? And you're moving into that fight gear. We're gonna fight for this. And it's all about that. And other parts of your life get smaller. You can also freeze. And I'm telling you this stuff because in our Heart to Heart Counseling Center, but we also in the building have a neuromodulation, and where they go for 5 days and their brain gets assessed, and it's amazing how it'll be either all the way to the left or all the way to the right. And if you're a woman, you are affected by trauma 2.6 times greater than men, because the way your brain is made, when it gets fried worse than men. And so you can feel like you're not yourself. You can feel like you're not functioning at like even 70%. And if that's you, that neuromodulation treatment might be really helpful. Call our office. But what happens is your brain can go this way or this way, but it's not balanced. And I've seen a lot of ladies who are very stuck, and they can't get out of that gear about the trauma. And over the few days, they become more neuroplastic. Their brain begins to be able to solve problems instead of staying stuck in one. And I can literally see in their eyes the difference in the way their brain is functioning. And what's really neat is at the end of the week, they get this report and it says, here was your brain on Monday, and here was your brain on Friday. Now, let me give you an example from my own life that has nothing to do with some.
All right. I just wanted to show y'all that video. And
Ooh.
you guys can take it away.
Yeah, Bobby.
No, that's actually that's very powerful. I can tell just by listening that's very deep, and I'm once we've done our own thing, I'm planning on definitely digging deeper into that. But I've never heard that term before, partner betrayal trauma, but it makes sense. And if you think about it, because I mean, at this point in our lives, I mean, there's been all kinds of TV shows, movies, books, narrative stories, first-hand experiences, second-hand experiences, where people talk about these shared common things that have happened once they've been cheated on or been betrayed or what have you. And a lot of these things, some things are padded up for reactions or for ratings or, just for sensationalism. But there's a lot of overlap with the symptoms and behaviors and trains of thought and everything that hold up with reality. And when you think of it from that lens, it's very true. There's a level of rewiring of the brain that happens when this person who you felt secure in, you felt vulnerable with, this person has access to a side of you and to levels of you that most people don't. That definitely can throw the defenses out of sync. It's like if you set the your house alarm on, right? And you set the alarm, you go ahead and activate the alarm, put the code in, but you messed up, you got a window still open, you got a door that's not properly closed, and you just hear it beeping and chiming, letting you know, hey, something's off, something's off, something's off. And then as soon as you close the door back or shut the window, then, it's fine again, and then you reset the alarm and you're good to go. But until you can close back that door, that window, there's that constant warning sign or warning alarm that lets you know something is off, something's amiss. And like you said, it's the same exact way. What's funny is I caught a flashback for a second. I remember where I was in a situation like that some years ago, where I was dealing with that in a relationship. And it was a link, and obviously it wasn't something that was over in a day. This was something that was going on for some time, and it was really stressing me out. And I remember very distinctly, I remember what time of day it was. I remember where it was. I almost remember what I was wearing and everything. And my best friend was trying to cheer me up. Was trying to kind of, trying to, get me back to my regular self. And at this point, I was really going through it. I was really beat down. I hadn't been sleeping properly and everything. And I was really worn out. I wasn't trying to hear shit from anybody. I wasn't trying to hear anything from my mom at that time. But I was just really down there. And, bless his heart, and I love him so much for this. But, he refused to just let me be going through it by myself. And so he made his mission. I'm not going to stop until I get this man to crack a smile, to laugh. I'm going to do what I can to go ahead and put him back in positive spirits. And I was so far out into the woods that eventually his best efforts got me to a point where I was irritated and frustrated, to the point where I ended up lashing out on him. And we were walking side by side at this point. And I was like, dude, stop. Just let me be. Just drop it, whatever. He wouldn't stop. And I got to the point where literally I snapped, lost my cool, and I literally came inches away from punching him dead in the face. Like, I almost cold cocked the shit out of him. And this is my dude. I mean, we're not thugs or anything, but we'd always been the dudes people turn to if there's protection, if someone needs something, if it needs to get physical. We're the first ones people come to. We're those guys. So equally tough, equally capable. I've seen him get busy. He's seen me get busy. But when I threw my hand, I was able to catch myself before I actually hit him. And what really threw me off wasn't even the action that I took, but I saw in his eyes like a look of shock. I wouldn't say it was fear, but just shock. Like, my nigga, you gonna hit me? And when I saw that, that jarred me. Just like you said, that was about as severe as any car crash I could have been. And that really shook me loose for a second. It really brought me back to myself. It's like, dude, what the hell are you doing, man? That's family. And he wasn't violating. He wasn't out of order. If anything, he was trying to look out for me. He was looking out for me. He was loving on me. He was showing me love. He's like, hey, man, We've been through tough things before. There's nothing we're going to get through it together. He was doing what you would want a brother to do. He refused to let me go through it by myself. And I almost repaid him by decking him and knocking his lights out. And in that moment, that really, and I'm sorry, and every now and then when I remember it, I apologize. I'll probably hit him later on and apologize again for it. But in that moment, that serious jostling rattled my brain loose. And it actually reminded me out of the blue of something that I had done for him a while ago when he was having some issues, when he was in a similar state. And he was just all in his head. He just couldn't get out of his head. And I remember out of the blue, just random, I just slapped him dead in his chest and said, hey, and I said verbatim, shut the fuck up, give me push-ups. And he looked at me like I lost my damn mind. And I looked at him like, I said what I said, I'm not backing down. And in kind of a, this isn't okay, but I'm just going to let this play out kind of way, he just quietly got down to the ground and started doing push-ups and was just hammering them shits out. He was just like hammering them. I'm like, don't stop, keep going. I tell you to stop. And finally, he got to the point where he was like out of breath. He stopped. And he was like, you roll over on his back, exhausted. And I'm grinning at him like, how you feel? And he's like, better. Because revolutionary medicine. And I remember that. And I took the advice I gave him. I did the same exact thing. And sure enough, all the aggression that I had pent up, it just came right out of my system. But in that moment, I was so thrown off that literally my whole brain chemistry was rewritten to the point where literally a friend in my mind became an enemy for no reason.
Yeah.
So this stuff is serious and it's intense. You have, and again, this also comes with, one of the things that we had to skip through really quickly, but one of the things that you have to question, being sincere about the process, is asking, is it worth it?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So forgiving this person, or I wouldn't say forgiving, but continuing, because that's what they're really trying to get at, getting to a point where we can say, I forgive you, and we can move beyond this.
Yeah.
You have to question, is it worth it? Are we at a point, am I at a point where it's too far gone and trying to work through this is only going to cause more damage to one or both parties?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
You got to answer that question. You might also reach a point where, like they also mentioned, is this the right time to do this? I'm not an advocate of it, because I personally feel if it gets to that point, that means it's time to go separate ways, because if anything's going to be resolved, it's going to be resolved together, not apart. But this would be a case where a separation, if you're married, would be a strategy to consider. The damage is done. There's pain. It's too raw. It's too fresh right now. I need time to just be alone. I just need to kind of numb up a little bit. I need the bleeding to stop a little bit. I need the wound to kind of get like a little scab over it first before I can even think about revisiting this and working with this. It's just too painful. Burns are like that. If you ever had a severe burn, or if you're a medical professional, you know that when you get a severe burn, the thing you don't want to do, they usually advise you don't try and do anything with it just yet. Don't try and put any cream on it or whatever, because it needs to do its thing. Just let it calm down first. Just let it begin the healing process to an extent. And then once you reach a point where there can be intervention, then go ahead and work on that. That might be a situation to look at as well too. But very valuable. And the last thing I'm going to say on this also is that right there, that knowledge is an excellent example of why I'm not only an advocate of counseling for relationships, but I also believe that counseling is something that should be done throughout the relationship process. I think one of the gravest tragedies is that when people go to counseling, usually it's as a last-ditch effort. And I think most therapists will tell you that, you'd been better served if you came to me before this, instead of everything's about to go to shit and now here, go fix this, whatever. The therapy can solve a relationship issue as a last-ditch effort, but like most things, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. It's going to work a whole lot better if you're having these regular conversations, because there are tools that you simply put don't have. There's language that you don't understand just yet. There's methods, there's strategies, there's ways of thinking about things that can make all the difference as you proceed in your relationship that a good quality therapist can give you up front. and it's just a checkup like anything else. You know, when you're in a situation like that where, again, you don't know what you don't know, that's when you end up falling to silly, stupid things. And like you pointed out beforehand, you know, the person might not necessarily want to be dishonest, but they don't know what else to do. They have nothing else. There's no other tool they can go to, and so fear kicks in, and they go with fear responses. So now, well, I can't fix the problem, I can't solve it. Let me lie and try to cover it up. Let me buy some time, or let me just do whatever else. Meanwhile, if you're in a position to fix it up front, you can do that. And that's also why one of the reasons why relationships can sometimes be salvaged and become better, as they pointed out, after the betrayal act, is because usually what was happening in the relationship, or rather I should say what wasn't happening, was communication. You weren't talking. She didn't know what you were thinking. He didn't know what you were thinking. You guys were out of sync with each other. And when you have a situation like this, unfortunately, it forces you to talk. The conversation might not be pleasant, but it forces you to communicate. And sadly, in some instances, that might be the first real communication you all have had in a long time, if at all. And so the relationship becomes better, not just because you worked through the trust, but because now you're communicating and that wasn't present. And communication will always improve the quality of the relationship, no exceptions.
Yeah.
So
I agree. Totally agree. Great synopsis. Major.
Well said. Well said. Looks like y'all really got most of the meat off of the bone with that one there. I just, say that really and truly, man, people have to understand betrayal is another animal. Forgiveness is one thing. Betrayal is something altogether different. It's like another level of wrongdoing. You know what I mean? And it's particularly difficult for people to overcome, deep betrayal. And I just say that people need to just be mindful of their actions before going into them. It's not really, a lot that you can do. Like you say, you get to a point where it's like, is it even worth it? A lot of times if you're asking that question, it's really not. It's very unfortunate, but I more often than not, when I talk to people who are in these spaces, they're so far gone because they're so far gone. They've allowed the situation to be, like Bobby said, they've allowed it to get so far gone that it's irreparable. So I think that'll be, the thing that I would say, I would caution, catch this shit early, man. In addition to presenting our best selves and really trying to be our best selves, because most of us don't do that. Like I said before, catch this shit early. If you need therapy, go seek it, man. These things don't happen by accident.
Yeah.
And we kind of operate in the space that, this is just a mistake. No, it's not. It's usually some shit that was done very intentionally. And that is why a lot of people who are on the other side get in the space, well, is it even worth it? I had a best friend a few years ago that we got into it, whatever the case may be. I don't talk to him anymore because he started, he became, a real hardcore LGBT activist for absolutely no reason, out of clear thin air. You dig? He starts, telling me that it's okay because we got into this thing because this girl posted a video of this little boy who was made up in drag and he's sashaying, around the house. And he was talking about how that's okay. And he'd rather his son be gay than get shot. And I'm like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? And where's all this dumb shit coming from? These false equivalencies, so forth and so on. And this was my best friend from when we were like in 8th grade. But this repressed anger and hurt, and apparently my conjecture is, closet homosexuality or bi curiosity was just coming out of nowhere. I'm like, who is this dude and why is he talking like this? Like, even when I stopped talking about it, we just disagreed on something. Okay, fine. He just kept on. You know, and that what my assessment is from, you know, looking back, I had done irreparable damage to him by calling out this thing, you know what I'm saying, that I saw as wrong. He wouldn't let it go. When you get to that point, I even get like this with people online. When I get to the point where I see that you have nothing to offer me intellectually, I can't learn from you. I can't grow from you, either because you're too damaged or for whatever other reason. I cut you off. You understand what I'm saying? A lot of times we got to make that call. Is this even worth it? And unfortunately, for those of us who are brave enough, the call is a lot of the times, hell no. And that's okay. I know that wasn't the Brady Bunch ending that everybody wanted to hear, but that's just what the fuck it is. Sometimes you gotta just say, hey man, this ain't it. You know, and a lot of that comes from the mental space that you're in with being able to recognize when someone is too far gone. I'm a very reasonable person. I can talk about just about anything. But when my core principles become somehow offensive to you, you know what I'm saying? We got a problem. This is irreconcilable at this point. This fool is up here telling me that it's okay for a woman to teach a young boy to be feminine, but he's saying that masculinity is toxic. Kill yourself. We don't have anything to discuss. You know what I'm saying? And that real talk, sometimes you really got to see when you're dealing with an extremist and a person who is just too far gone, you got to draw the line. And I'll land my plane there.
Yeah, I think sometimes people pick up plights from other people. They get inspired on plights of other people, even though it don't align up with them. And then, you know, background. Some people have backgrounds of family members that's like that. I told my I tell my cousin all the time, yo, I love you, but my morals is I can't go to the clubs with you. That's just not my thing. I'm not going to be in a gay club to support you.
Real
I can
talk.
tell you I love you all day, but I can't be around your surroundings and your elements because that's not who I am.
Right.
And then I would be a villain in that situation, because if somebody in that club comes at me in a different in a manner, because see, they are looking at it like, hey, if he's in here, more than likely he's like that, or he's curious to that. And then you have people in that community that wants to kind of recruit you and be the first one to convert you. There's this infatuation of converting people into that lifestyle.
True.
And so if I'm just being supportive of my cousin and somebody comes at me like that, we might get in a fist fight. And then guess what? Now I'm labeled as homophobic and I'm in there starting trouble. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, to respect you and your culture and your community, I'm not going to put myself in that situation.
Right.
And I can love you from a distance. And you know,
go ahead. No, I was just going to say, let me make sure I clarify this for some slow people that might be watching, because, you know, a lot of people will hear that and they be like, oh, he's homophobic and rah. Notice, and even I pointed this out to him in this discussion that we had, this debate that we had, where he kind of jumped out the window because I said that teaching this little boy to be feminine was wrong.
Yeah.
I never said a goddamn thing about his sexuality or anyone's sexuality.
Correct.
I talked about this woman who is feminine teaching this little boy to be feminine. I never talked about anybody being gay, that it was wrong, that it was corrupt, that it was, you know, this or that. That never came out of my mouth. He assumed that because I made the assessment that I made, that I was being hateful or homophobic or what have you. You understand what I'm saying? And even if that were my position, that I just didn't agree with homosexuals or whatever the case may be, That's my prerogative. The thing about this conversation is it's so one-sided.
Mhm.
They can feel how they want to feel and do what they want to do, but they don't allow you to feel like you want to feel and do what you want to do.
Yeah.
And that's a problem.
Yeah.
Because you're forcing your extremism onto me. If I'm not comfortable with this, you're going to get the fuck out my face, period. You understand? If that's how I feel, like you just said. And if I'm talking about this little boy and how, you know, it's offensive for, you know, this woman to be making him up and putting him on the internet for the world to see. This little boy must have been about 7 years old.
Mhm.
Looking like a girl, acting like a girl, whatever the case may be. If I'm saying to you that I find fault in that, that should be the end of the fucking conversation.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? That should be the end of the conversation. I don't need you trying to police my opinion. You understand what I'm saying? That's a problem.
Yeah, I think people have a problem with agreeing to disagree and just walk away. We don't have to have that discussion no more. You know, you go your way, I go my way, because we see that our principles don't align up. And I'm not going to be around you because I might get offended by something you say, and you be around me and you might get offended by something I say. So we just have our healthy spaces and healthy boundaries. You know?
Real talk. And there are men out here, by the way, that are effeminate and are not gay.
Yeah.
You dig?
You got the metrosexuals.
You got that.
We grew up with a lot of metrosexual.
Plenty of them.
Idols. You know what I'm saying? And I tell people all the time, you know, I have a gay cousin. I also was dating a girl whose brother was gay, and we was all playing cards. So, you know, when people say homophobic, I think a lot of times they just do a lot of misrepresentation and misuse of the word, mislabeling, because it's the same thing as narcissists. A lot of people call people narcissists, and the actuality is the people that be calling people narcissists are narcissists and don't even realize it. You know, it's a lot of mislabeling and stuff like that. If you're not, if you don't know the person, just refrain from using mislabels, because then that goes all the way left, and that brings another chaotic issue. So definitely, I do want to get into our trendy topics of the week. All right, let's go. All right. So I saw this on the trendy topic. Jeezy is in court over his custody battle. And in the process of his custody battle, his ex-wife, well, soon to be ex-wife, puts in claims that he was being abusive against her. She said that she wrote, Jenny shared text messages from Jeezy apologizing for his behavior that caused the injuries. He wrote, "I'm so sorry, babe. Haven't forgive myself for putting you in danger. I've been uneasy and sad about it." They also said during the UNCF event, Jenny went to the restroom with her girlfriend, and Jeezy allegedly became enraged because he did not know her whereabouts for 25 minutes. He allegedly reacted abruptly, demanding that the two leave the party. Once in the vehicle, Jeezy reportedly asked the driver to exit and began to abuse his estranged wife verbally. She attempted to exit the car 2 times per court docs. On the second time, he allegedly grabbed the neckline of her dress, tearing the dress, causing multiple 2 to 3 inches scratches across her back, across her right breast with his fingernails. And at the time, he hurled insults such as "you whore," "I can't wait to divorce you when you get back." Jenny was held against her will inside the vehicle while trying to escape. Jeezy allegedly struck her with a closed fist across her cheekbone and eye. The attack reportedly caused subconjugal hemorrhage. Following the incident later that week, the estranged couple contracted their pastor and therapist for counseling regarding the ongoing domestic violence. And I just saw that and I said to myself, you know, it is very important that when we talk about relationships and marriage, This is one of the biggest things that people don't really understand is how important that vetting process is. Because like I said, this is a woman that he should not have gotten a relationship. I think this was a woman that he liked. And now he's seeing the repercussions of his likeness for this woman who has a very open background of an anti-Black racist background, allegedly that has been shown numerous times. They brought it up and had showed receipts on it, you know what I'm saying? And if majority of the Black people knew about this, and Jeezy is a highlighted, high top earner entertainer who has access to this information, who has enough money to pay for an investigation on any woman he has been with, I don't understand why he would put himself in a situation like this from the get-go with somebody that was not nowhere near worthy enough to be in his phone, much less now on a marriage license. So I saw what was going on. Jeezy had made a report saying that, you know, the truth would come out. I wasn't there to know what happened, but I hope it's not a situation where she's just making up this stuff to just prevent him from having custody of his child and also trying to tarnish his image because he parted away from being her financial bag and her financial support system. So I'll turn it over to you guys to see how you feel about that.
Make sure that you add in the part where he denied all those claims.
Yeah.
That's important because Jeezy said none of that's true.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And, you know, it's hard to say, you never know, right?
Yeah.
But to me, I'm this person and I've always been this person. If that's what it is, then why did you stay all this time? If things were that bad, why did you stick around? I'm sorry, I just can't. I can't help it. I'm just too logical. I think too logically. You know, if this is so bad, this person was really abusing you. There was domestic violence, and you know, in some other cases, you know, some of these women talk about they were raped and this, that, and the third, and then they stayed for 10 years. You understand what I'm saying, bruh?
And just like how they said they call us homophobic. Another misrepresentation of a word that they use when you bring up logics in these situations is victim shaming.
Victim shaming or victim blaming. Right. This is the liberals and the words they make up. Let's make sure we throw that in there. The liberals got a whole library of words that they just made the fuck up. Victim shaming and victim blaming, toxic masculinity. You know, we could go on all day, right? But again, if it was so bad and this is what was going on, why did you stay? It doesn't make sense to me. And I tend to call cap. If it was that bad, why is it that we're waiting until now when he's trying to get custody of his kids for you to bring it up? I call bullshit. I could be wrong, especially when you're dealing with somebody who has a history of anti-Black racism. You dig? This is a very Black man. Jeezy, it don't get no blacker than Jeezy. You understand what I'm saying? Jeezy is a soul brother. You dig? Like, hey, I mean, this dude. When you think about Black hood dudes from the street, even Jeezy's a very conscious guy. You know what I'm saying? Blackity black, woke Black. You understand what I'm saying? It doesn't get any blacker than him. And we already know this woman does not like Black men. And now this Black man is trying to get custody of his child from a mother who is seemingly very unfit. You know, if you examine her past versus his past, I'm just saying, you know, he could easily get custody of that kid. You understand?
What do you think? Well, no, I said, what do you think her ex-white, was it his husband?
Yeah.
Her ex-white husband. What do you think is going through his head? Because he didn't want to give her a child.
I'm thinking that he's thinking, damn, I dodged a bullet. No, he did want a child. She didn't want to have a child with him.
Oh, that's what it was?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
He wanted the child.
Well, okay, I thought it was.
He wanted to have a child with her. She didn't want to have a child with him. And everybody was looking at her like she had 3 heads when she left the white boy and then went and had this, baby with Jeezy. We like, this heifer say she ain't want no baby.
Yeah.
You dig? Apparently, the other white guy, his bag wasn't serious enough. That's my take. I could be wrong, but it looks a little funny style. I'm just saying that. I'm a person who believes in logic. You can call me a victim blamer, a victim shamer, all you want. Shut your little liberal pie hole with that bullshit. I'm going to just keep it 100. And I'm going to go by what makes sense. I ask questions. You should always ask questions, especially when some shit don't add up. They were calling us victim shaming. They were saying that we were victim shaming with Jesse Smollett's lying ass. They said we were victim shaming with Rhoda Bash's lying ass, with Carly Russell's lying ass. I could go on all day. You understand? People are gullible and naive as hell is what it boils down to. And they're counting on you and the stupidity of the average person in order to be able to get this shit over on people. You understand? So no, we have to be vigilant and we have to stand our goddamn ground. When we see some shit that look funny style, we got to question it. Where there's smoke, there's fire. So I don't know. We don't believe you. You need more people. That's my final comment. Please print that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. I don't know, man. It sounds real funny style to me. But looking at Jeannie Mae, who's surprised? Seriously. Who's surprised? She could be just making shit up. I hope that stuff is not true. But she could be just making shit up. And if look, man, reporter, it never happened. That's how I stay.
Yeah, I agree.
Hey. Get him, Mitch. Get him, Gage. Oh, you thought he was finished?
Bruh. Oh man.
I was trying to look up while you were talking because I saw something earlier and I don't know why I didn't save it properly, or if I did where I saved it to. But supposedly, and I don't know if it was because the way they do on the internet now, people come with all kind of stuff, but I know for a fact he definitely has come out and denied the allegations, and she was saying all kind of wild stuff about how he assaulted her in a hotel and there were witnesses there, and how apparently he just leaves AK-47s lying around the house and whatever. The toddler stumbled on the gun, pictures him holding it. I saw one of and also supposedly she pulled photos from the security cameras in his home, which is crazy. That's a violation, to be honest with you, but it's a different story. But I saw apparently, and I'm a little hesitant to jump on it just yet because you know how things normally are. They jump on once it's put out there, the internet goes crazy with it. But supposedly he dropped some receipts that showed that her claims were BS and were nonsense. I was trying to find the exact ones, but I'll probably point them out next time, whatever. But yeah, you just got to watch out, man. You also have to consider the source. I will say that it's interesting that, as some people pointed out, that Jeezy has been in the industry, in the mainstream, known and highly visible for about 2 decades now. I feel old, but he's been out there. And this is the first time we're hearing of him in any issues, at least like this. For the most part, a clean track record, no incidents of violence, especially with women like that or what have you. Has a few other baby mamas out there, no tiffs with them, but now all of a sudden he's supposedly abuser of the year. He out here laying the smack down on women of Asian descent and everything else. It's just, I don't know. It's interesting and convenient. And like you mentioned, this only comes out when he's seeking custody. Very, very interesting.
How about that, right?
We also have to watch out. And again, this is why, and they've been doing this for some decades now. It really popped out to prominence ever since O.J. Simpson when it comes to these crimes, especially black people. But we have to be very careful. And in fact, we have to altogether dismantle the court of public opinion, because the court of public opinion is trash. It is stupid. We have some gifted people in the court of public opinion, but we also have some average thinking people, and we have some mentally struggled, mentally challenged. They struggle with their full cognitive capabilities in the crowd as well. And as a result, they're not fit to evaluate anything, because all they're taking on is gossip and hearsay. And on top of that, let's be honest, let's keep a rack and a stack. We've all seen that these things are largely popularity contests. We've seen that if the crowd likes you, if they love you, then they can have you dead to rights on something, and they're not going to side against you. They're going to say, oh, they didn't do it. They're going to just run all kind of interference for you. And if they don't like you, you could be innocent as a newborn baby, and they still going to take the attitude of whatever they say he did, whatever they say she did, they did that shit. So we cannot trust people or a body that operates based on feelings. And once again, it's funny how this is popping up, but in a different format. Exactly. No, notice how this thing keeps on popping up and leading people astray. Can't do nothing with like. Like is a feeling. I like this today, I might not like it tomorrow. I like cheesecake today. I'm gonna eat a big old cheesecake, a whole cheesecake by myself. I like cheesecake today.
I love
tomorrow
cheesecake.
Morning. I love cheesecake. I'm long overdue for some. Tomorrow I wake up, I done picked on that cheesecake. Now my stomach's aching. I'm probably married to the toilet for a few hours. Now I don't like cheesecake anymore. But guess what? In a few days, I'm gonna like cheesecake again.
Correct.
It's got that same mind control of me that Smokey had on Debo. So you can't go based off of feelings. You have to go based off of what is. What are the facts? Just the facts, ma'am. What are the facts? Where's the logic? Where's the sense? Those are things that we can establish and build off of. And right now, all we got from either side is allegations. Now, we do know that the allegations from Jeannie Mae look very suspect. The timing is highly convenient and interesting. Now, I know she's been trying to do this whole sympathy run, and unfortunately, we have a lot of tender-eyed Negroes who unfortunately believe that anything that isn't this is automatically loving, kind, and wonderful for them. But I find it hard to believe that a woman who referred to black men as side dishes or some other dehumanizing talk is all of a sudden so concerned with not demeaning the black man's image and upholding it because she wants to protect black men. I'm a little skeptical about that, so forgive me for my cynicism. I just don't see that being the case.
I don't buy it.
And now that he's looking at actually being at the father, he's saying, hey, you know, this is my child. I want custody. I want to be that dad. I'm stepping up. I have the means. I can do it. Now all of a sudden he's Marvel grade super villain. I'm not buying it. But what I will say is on both sides, I am suspending my verdict until I have the facts. Not no hearsay, not no screenshots of this, whatever. I want it to play out in a court of law. I want to hear what the judge has to say about it. This isn't a criminal case, so there's not going to be a prosecution or a defense. But I want to see what cases are being made by the attorneys, Jeannie and Jeezy, and ultimately what the judge rules and decides.
Let me throw something in there real quick. Just a little extra seasoning. And this is something I did not like. And I think in a way, Jeezy kind of set himself up for this. This whole code of the street shit, you know, I don't talk on things. I don't speak on things. I can understand you not wanting to run your baby's mother through the mud. But when he came out, first of all, he wanted to divorce her. That speaks volumes to me right there, right?
Mhm.
What man is the one who initiates the divorce? You know she must have been fucked up. You understand what I'm saying? Like that's something that never happens, right? He initiated the divorce.
Mhm.
Okay. And when he initiated that divorce, he went out of his way he protected her so much. He went out of his way not to say anything about what she did. And I feel like that's coming to bite him in the ass now. I really do. You know what I'm saying? Because I could be totally wrong, right? I could be. But something tells me that she did some real foul shit. And unfortunately, like I said, reporter, it didn't happen. You dig? And by you going out of your way to protect this person and make them look as though there's nothing wrong with them, as though they're as pure as the driven snow, they're cool. Don't be mad at her. You know, she didn't do anything. It's kind of the vibe that I got from it when he did that, you know, and I think that kind of has to do with the code of the streets, no snitching, that type of shit. You understand what I'm saying? You inadvertently can make yourself look like the villain. Now, you know, since he kind of absolved her of any wrongdoing, she turns the tables and starts coming out with these crazy stories. This nigga got AK-47s by the refrigerator. Shit. You know what I'm saying? She's coming out with these crazy stories. And it's like, well, he basically said she didn't do nothing wrong. So he must have done something wrong. If that makes sense. Maybe I'm tripping, but that's just kind of how I see it.
Yeah.
You dig? You know, you kind of, I think he kind of made her seem like, you know, she didn't do anything wrong. Don't bother her. Don't, you know, I'm protecting her. You go out of your way to protect her. What is her response? She throws you under the fucking bus. Just saying.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed. Definitely. Well said. I know we're running out of time, but I did want to get to this real quick. So I do want to get to the Dear Men segment real quick because I thought it was very interesting and it pertains to marriage. And Bobby, you can basically explain this because this is one of your friends. I took this off of his page, but I thought it was very interesting. All right. So a good brother of mine who I introduced to the knowledge of self 20 years ago once introduced me to a consort of his. He and I are the exact same age, just a couple of months apart. He said to her, "This is my teacher." I chose not to say anything at the moment while she was still in our presence. When she left, I pulled him aside and said to him, "Peace, brother. Understanding the hypergamous nature of women, never introduce me to any woman as your teacher or mentor or anything that could possibly interpret as being your superior. Then even perceiving that may lead them to looking up to the same man as well and trigger their hypergamy. And we know what that often leads to. Always and only introduce me as a simple your brother. A man shouldn't even correct another man in front of his woman and children. We should also do so in private for the sake of keeping a man's integrity and position intact before those whom he leads." This brother of mine, my friends list, as you read, and I just want to share this one comment real quick because I thought this was interesting. Please forgive me because these images are coming up real small. So if I stutter, just know that's the reason. I don't even like the disagreements with the men. I don't like disagreements with men if women are around. An older guy of the Palladium Bronx, New York is mad at me to this very day because of a discussion we had about 120. I kept telling him to pause the conversation until the appropriate time. His earth came in the living room and I kept saying the discussion will be continued some other time. The older guy kept pressing the issue. So I told him and the other guys that we should not have sword sharpening debates in front of women. The older guy kept getting out, kept getting loud, and then for 5 minutes straight continued yelling. My earth can hear this conversation because she knows I'm right and exact and you're wrong. After 20 minutes of telling him it could cause issues, he would not listen. I asked him 2 questions concerning the degree, how he sees them. He contradicted himself with the answers and realized I was right all along. Problem was his earth seen I was right all along. She also seen that I was right about not wanting to debate in front of women. The same night she viewed him as less powerful. It caused them to have relationship issues, and then they broke up within a month. That guy moved back to the Bronx and don't like me to this very day. The problem was he wanted to gain points in front of Earth at our expense, but I seen he was wrong and tried to spare him. And I just wanted to say that out of that conversation, that dialogue, that exchange, I agree. You don't do that. I think one of the reasons why she got a divorce is because it seems to me that he has a problem with accepting being wrong and always wanting to be right. And I think as she's seen that you got debunked by another man, and if I'm telling you that you're wrong and you're sitting here fighting me and telling me that you're right when I know you're wrong, then there's no need for me to follow a man, be submissive to a man, because you're going to lead me in the wrong direction with your false ideologies and narratives and leadership. So I think that was a major problem for a woman too. So I agree, but I'll turn it over to you guys.
Yep. That's just what happened. Real talk. I mean, dude. And the first guy, I get both sides of the argument, right? He doesn't want people to. The first guy's situation was a little more interesting to me because the second guy is a slam dunk, like you just said, and it's like that's just what it is, right? Yeah. The first guy, I can see both sides. You're not wanting a brother to introduce you as his mentor or whatever as your mentor, whatever the case may be, in front of your woman. However, 2 things. And I'm familiar with some brothers who are, with the Society of the Gods and the Earths, and I understand their slang and their vernacular and, how they move. 2 things though, part of the philosophy and the way is, for men to also be humble, and to practice humility, and for there to be an understanding, that we all fall short of the grace of God. You know what I'm saying? Because a man is your mentor does not necessarily make him your superior or, your intellectual superior, what have you. You know what I'm saying? It does not necessarily make him that. He may be mentoring you in some things, you understand? And he just may be your elder, whatever the case may be. Hypergamous nature of woman should not kick in and make that woman thereby then attracted to you. That's nonsense. It shouldn't. If you have a quality woman, that's the big kicker there. If you have a quality woman who is stern and who is under your covering, who is under your guidance, who is under your leadership, that's it. It don't matter what this other man knows, whatever the case may be. How many people in the Nation of Islam? Farrakhan, I'm sure, is their mentor, right? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad was his mentor. Does that mean that Farrakhan's wife wanted to sleep with Elijah Muhammad? Or all the brothers, when brother Risa Islam's wife marries him, she's going to want to be with Father Farrakhan? No. I think that, unfortunately, in the conscious community, there's an overindulgence in ego in a lot of those circles. Yeah. Exactly. And I think that's very harmful. And a lot of these guys would do much better and be taken more seriously if they check their fucking egos at the door. And I'm talking about the top ones, You understand what I'm saying? I listen to them, and until they start talking about how great they are, I'm right there with them. You know, we need to focus more on the message and less on some of the semantics and some of the bullshit, particularly when we're talking about people in the conscious community, because that should have been a non-issue. I can kind of understand the brother feels like he's trying to look out for the younger brother and saying this type of stuff. But again, you know, if this woman's head is where it's supposed to be and he is doing what he's supposed to do, it shouldn't be an issue whatsoever. Full stop.
Correct.
I'll land my plane. I'm good. What you got, Bobby?
No, I agree. Shout out to my dude Prince. Pretty solid brother. Don't agree with everything he says, but I do agree with a lot of things he says. One thing I can definitely say about him is whether we're on the same page or not, I can always count on him to bring some serious thought and some sense behind it. And even if I'm not with him on certain things, I can definitely see the logic. I can see the gears clicking behind it. So I appreciate it. He's one of the ones that I consider, we don't necessarily have conversations like that. More like I see his posts when I see mine. But he's definitely one of those sources that I consider as I wouldn't say an adversary, but when you talk about how you don't always have to agree with everyone that you're cool with, you know, you can have different ideals or different opinions and still come together and still exist. He's one of the cats that I can definitely count on for that. And he does a pretty good job also of regulating his page too. He's not with all the nonsense and foolishness, whatever. He chops stuff down real quick. So definitely appreciate seeing his posts, always gain something from them when I see them. So big up to him. I saw that post when he dropped it, and I don't think I saw that comment. That might have been after I checked out the post.
Yeah.
But I can see the wisdom to an extent of what he's trying to get at. I don't believe that it's necessary like that. For the same reason you mentioned, Major. If I'm all for being a leader in your relationship. I co-sign that 189%. On weekends, on weekdays, it's 200%. I'm all in with, showcasing that you are a leader, but that you are fallible with your lady, being transparent in your leadership. And I'm definitely all for maintaining healthy boundaries or what have you. And also for doing what it takes to keep your lady secure. With that being said, this is still a relationship between two adults. There is a certain level of hand-holding and safeguarding that I am not willing to take on. Am I able to do it? Yes. Am I willing to do it? No. If I have to go ahead and be so conscious that any person who I consider a superior, is a person above me, whether it's a teacher or instructor or supervisor, I have to be on tippy toes, because if I miss and say that this is someone who I answer to, this is someone who I take wisdom to, take information, take guidance from, if I have to be that on edge where I'm afraid mentioning that to her is going to automatically start making her panties wet and start seeing if she can go ahead and jump in Buddy's inbox, then I'm a whole ass clown who can't pick women worth a damn. This is someone that doesn't need to be on the team. This is a liability. I should be able to leave you in the middle of Walmart for 5 minutes, use the restroom, come back, and I go back. Wait, where'd she go? I lost it. 5 minutes, you couldn't stay put. I shouldn't have those concerns with you like you're a toddler. Now, I know a lot of men do consider women to be toddlers, and so for them, it would make sense to have that sort of mindset where they feel like they have to go ahead and always have to, change a diaper, make sure she didn't soil some all other nonsense. I'm not doing that. There's a certain level of labor and work I'm willing to do in my relationships. I'm not willing to take on nanny and the like with that. Right? That's crazy to me. So for that reason, I'm not on board with it. However, the spirit of what he's saying, I absolutely agree on. And not necessarily for hypergamous purposes, but you have to be mindful that of the women who are in your vicinity, and not just your own women, but other women as well too. You have a lot of misandrists out there. I have seen women who, just like vampires, like succubi, they see brothers in conflict, and on God, their nipples get hard. You can see them salivating. They get excited. They like seeing men in conflict. And in some cases, I've seen them even hype dudes up to go at each other. Before long, this whole minor disagreements is a full-fledged out war between these two or more dudes, because there's a broad there that just likes the power trip, knowing that she was able to manipulate dudes into doing her dirty work. I've seen that. It's disgusting. That's not good for the brothers involved, obviously. That's not good for the women as well either. I believe that it's perfectly good to have debate and have conversation, but if it's a genuine disagreement, an actual conflict, I'm in agreement with that. The women folk don't need to see that. The women folk need to see men collaborating together in harmony, having differences of opinion or disagreements that they're able to solve reasonably and rationally. And if this calls for some man vibes or whatever, y'all go together and y'all sort that out. It's the same reason why it's not a great idea to go ahead and allow the mother to coddle the son too much. Your son needs to be able to skin his knee, and not that you don't love the child, but not have a, oh, my little prince, oh my gosh, you're bleeding, oh, my baby. That ain't going to help a damn thing.
Yeah.
And I've seen cases where you have children where it's two different approaches, where you have the mother coming and they're all overly panicked, and it actually affects the child's mindset, where the child starts crying, it hurts. And then you have another case where you have the child might fall and hurt themselves, and the child is okay, but he looks up to see the reactions. And if you have a calm, confident, are you okay? Are you hurting? The child will right there and they'll reason out. They don't need to cry. In some cases, they do it because that's what's expected of them, and they pick up on that. But if you're just affirming, are you okay, son? Did you skin your knee? Does it hurt? Do you need to cry about it? Okay, that's my guy. Let's go and get something on it. Learning how to manage emotions is very big for men. That's something that needs to be done properly. So from the cradle to adulthood, being able to manage and handle these things where the women aren't able to influence, or you're not able to pipe up for clout, is the important thing. I talked to one of my, funny enough, it just came to me. I talked to one of my jits buddies a few weeks ago, and we were just talking about some people we hadn't seen on the mats in a while. And he mentioned one guy who I haven't seen in a really long time, what have you, because I know he's got some injuries that he's dealing with. I see him doing some weightlifting and other stuff, but he hasn't been on the mats training. And I'm like, yeah, man, I miss him. He's a good dude, a good partner. And the other guy's like, nah, he can stay away for a little while. I'm like, what's the problem? He's like, nah, he's a cool dude, but when his girlfriend comes around, he does too much. I'm like, what? Like, yeah. I'm like, who's the girlfriend? And when he pointed out, like, oh, that's his girl, yeah. And apparently, when she comes by when we're training practice, when he's on the mats, apparently he's out there trying to be Superman. He's trying to be RoboCop and try to tap out everybody. He goes extra hard. He doesn't want to tap because he's afraid he's gonna do whatever. He's like, he actually told me, "Hey man, don't do that." It's like, what's wrong? Like, no, I had him in a choke. I was about to get him. He's like, "Hey man, just chill, relax." Like, why? Is like, no. And he said he realized it was because his girl was watching. He wasn't trying to take an L in front of the fellas.
Jesus.
In front of her.
Why invite her?
Because he's trying to get because he's trying to get cool points. Wow, baby, you showed them all. That's amazing. How about I take that off you tonight?
Come on.
There's some dudes that can't handle it when women are present. That's another reason too.
That's whack as hell. And
I've never had that experience with them, but then again, I can't recall. I did know that he and her were dating. I thought she might have just been someone who was just watching the practices, because where we practice, it's not a school by itself. It's part of a gym, so you can be lifting weights and see what we're doing. So I thought maybe someone was just curious, interesting, because we be getting it in. It'd be entertaining. We be getting it in sometimes. But then I realized, well, I can't recall rolling with them when she was there. And then I realized he's probably also trying to cherry pick dudes who he thinks he's going to have an easier time against. Because not that I'm a juggernaut or anything, but I know a lot of the time our roles, when we do get it in, it's train type stuff. I'm really trying to work positions because, you know, I know there's a mismatch with skills between me and him. And so I use it as an opportunity to kind of just work on positioning, kind of schooling some other things. So he's probably also trying to look to pick on easy ones where he can crush them and say, oh, see how manly I am? Just with 3 new chest hairs. Yeah. That kind of stuff. So this is it's a practice that to an extent can definitely protect men from having to do the most, because there's some men who are highly influenced, and also can also make sure that we're not doing anything to belittle or unintentionally, you know, make some of Sandra's day and get her panties moist unnecessarily. We want those panties drier than the Sahara. They don't need to have any sort of lubrication whatsoever. So,
wow, that's crazy.
Definitely. And also, you got to be careful because guys like that might be emotional. You might tap him out in front of his girl. He feels embarrassed and come back and shoot you. You know what I'm saying? It's a very dangerous situation.
It's the times we live in, man.
Definitely want to get into our last thing tonight. It's going to be real quick. Bobby, I saw you post this young lady, so I just want to give her just dues. Where is she? Right here. All right, so the youngest person in the world to intern at NASA, Elena McQuarter. Elena McQuarter graduated from high school at the age of 12 years old. She made the national headlines as the youngest person to intern at NASA, and is also the youngest person ever to get accepted to medical school. Now she's just a few months away from graduating college at the age of 14. What a true queen growing looks like. Shout out to Elena McQuarter for doing a phenomenal job. And you know, books. We always talk about books. I have books behind me. Bobby got the books behind him. Major's always with his books. It does a lot. It does wonders. You know what I'm saying? So definitely want to give our queen check for the night. Shout out to that young lady. She's going to do great things in the future because she's got a hell of a head start at the age of 14. All right. So you guys take us out.
Bro, that crown check was astronomical. Are you kidding me?
No
graduate college with that with NASA shit at age 14. This is why I'm so hard on the twerker crowd. You could be doing phenomenal shit like that, but you want to shake your ass on the internet. Bruh, sisters that are tapped in are worth their weight in gold. Shout out to that young sister. I want to see more of it. You understand what I'm saying? That's beautiful. That's what we rock with over here, man. I want to see the sisters out there moving and shaking like that. If you're going to shake, move and shake like that. You know what I'm saying? Community movers and shakers. That's what's up. But to get back to our topic for the night, I'm gonna just keep it real simple, man. You know, repairing broken relationships. If you're going to be forgiven, requires sincerity, man. I really don't think that people give sincerity when someone has done something wrong, or just sincerity in general, the props that it deserves. People that are sincere are special. You understand? But when you've done wrong and you come in the spirit of asking forgiveness and you are sincere, you're worth your weight in gold, man. That's a big deal. I don't know how many times I've said this, but you can really kind of chalk it up to be the reason I married my wife. For the first thing that really impressed her about me was the fact that she was able to admit she was wrong and apologize. That shit was huge. You understand? And she was so sincere about it. She said to me, "I'm so sorry. That's not who I am. That'll never happen again." And to this day, that shit never happened again. You understand? It was a small thing when you look at the totality of our relationship, and even just in general. It wasn't a huge thing, but it was important. Like I say, in the beginning of relationships, it's important to establish boundaries and set precedents.
Yeah.
And the fact that the boundary was established, the precedent was set, and it was locked in by her, who was the offending party. The precedent being set was locked in by her. You understand what I'm saying? That was a big deal, man. When you know that you're dealing with somebody, especially when they were stubborn about it at first, and then they came to you almost giving themselves up in pure submission, in the spirit of pure submission. Hey, that was wrong what I did. It's not who I am. That will never happen again. You have my word. When someone says something like that and they mean it, and it's verifiable by the actions that you see them take thereafter, that's everything. You know, so if you're going to have your little fake ass apologies, you can keep them, because you don't mean what you say and you can't be trusted. And on the side of the would-be forgiving person, we talked about this earlier. I'm going to say it one more time before we go. Make your assessment to see if it's worth it. If it is worth it, do it. And do it with your heart. Again, you know, intention. Are you just doing this just to do it, or do you mean it? And if you've forgiven them and you want to give it a chance to move forward, do it for real. Don't play them games. Don't keep going back to the shit. Move on. You understand what I'm saying? And I think we'll have much more productive relationships, because it's really just that simple. The person who screwed up needs to, first of all, again, the most important step is to try to keep from screwing up. But if you do screw up, let's keep our screw ups minimal and not make them atrocities. And when you come to the table asking for forgiveness, mean it. And don't go back and repeat the same behavior, because if you keep apologizing without deed, then what you're saying is just an empty statement. You get that from the person who's screwing up. You get from the screwee that, hey, I'm going to choose to forgive this person. I'm going to not choose to forgive this person and just leave it alone. Or I'm going to choose to forgive this person and really do it. You get those two things together and you rolling. You got something. Other than that, you might as well not even bother and just go your separate ways. I'll end my plane.
Definitely. Bobby, send us home.
Big shout out to baby girl Lena. Amazing. Out there doing it big time over there at Arizona State University. She's a Sun Devil, doing the damn thing. Already accepted to medical school. You know, I love when I see young people with that locked and loaded mentality. They already know what the game plan is. They're not out here stumbling and fumbling, and they're already on it. They're making it happen. But it's also, of course, a big shout out to the home that she comes from, because, you know, that's definitely a sign of a child who has the right support system around them. Not just parents, but also extended family members and the whole community that's around them, really lifting them up, supporting them. And, you know, it's huge for her, but it's definitely a win for everybody. Definitely an excellent sign of, or a result of what happens when we genuinely invest and come together and really make it happen for the next generation. I don't know what her parents may or may not have been able to accomplish in their lifetime, but I'm sure that it wasn't this. So they definitely are doing the right thing. They're passing the baton. They're going ahead and make sure their child is going to be better off than they were at her age. And I hope that when she gets to the point where she's able to go out there and start her own family, she's able to go ahead and pay it forward and keep the momentum going, keep the ball rolling. Excellent. Congratulations. If this reaches you, mama, stay focused. We love you. We're proud of you. Keep doing what it do. Look forward to hearing some big things about you in the years to come. Just to close out the night, you know, again, like you said, Major, forgiveness. If you're gonna do it, do it. Don't play about it. Don't waste your time. Don't waste their time. If this is a necessary parting of the ways, seize the opportunity and do that. You know, there's other people out there. No matter what the relationship may have been like up until this point, the reality is they didn't stop making people when they made your significant other.
Yeah.
There's others out there. What comes along will likely not be exactly what you had, but maybe that's a good thing. Might be better, might be a little better, might be a little worse, or maybe it might be exactly what you need. But be open to the opportunity and see what's out there. However, flip side of the coin, if it is worth it, if this is a relationship that's worth salvaging, if you already have some solid commitments in place, you have children, you've made other commitments together, maybe that might be the incentive you need to go ahead and sit down and work things out. That's not to say to go ahead and try to breathe life into a dead relationship. If it's dead, it's dead. Ain't no CPR, ain't no electric shocks that can bring the thing back. However, if it needs a little bit of mending, if it needs a little TLC, if you can get back on the same track, if you can look back and say, you know what, this person didn't do everything right, but there are also some things I could have done a little bit better as well too. I think you both owe it to each other to give that thing another try. This time, as Major said, presenting your best self. Not half-assing and not, well, here's a little effort here. Nah. The best version of yourself, and not settling for that either, but continually working for an even better version of yourself and giving that to the other person. I think that's the greatest gift that you can give your significant other. I think that's the greatest gift you can give anybody. Your best self, constantly. And so every day, even if you gave them your best self yesterday, digging a little deeper and growing and improving and giving an even better version of that person the next day. I think that's the greatest gift you can give anybody. I think that's the greatest gift that you can receive from anybody. Because a lot of people, simply put, can't be bothered to give a damn about much of anything. So when you have someone that is willing and they're trying to go ahead and be that and give that for you, that needs to be honored. That needs to be respected.
Yes.
That is truly a gift. Cherish it like it is. That's the conclusion of another week. Make sure you go ahead, like, subscribe, share, pass it on, put these good topics in somebody's ear that needs to hear it. And look forward to chopping up with y'all next week, same time, same place. Much love.
So next week is Cinco de Mayo. So we're gonna take off. I know you guys probably have some festivities. Enjoy your festivities with your family and friends.
Cinco de Negro.
Cinco de Negro, exactly. You know. Okay.
So then we'll be back the following Sunday, which is Mother's Day Sunday. Not sure if you guys have anything going on Mother's Day Sunday, but you guys will let me know ahead of time. All right. So enjoy your next weekend, and I'll see y'all on the 12th. All right. So peace out, everybody. We'll see y'all.
Bless up. Be well.
Oh, yeah.
Manifestation. Man up. Manifestation. Man up. Manifestation. Man up. Manifestation.
A place where we inform, build, and inspire.
Manifestation. Man up. Manifestation. Man up. Manifestation. Man up.
A place where we inform.
Manifestation.
A place where we inform, build, and inspire.
You gotta eat what you kill. You gotta go out there. You gotta hunt for your meals.
We all have that ability to connect with people, to be that motivational person in somebody's life.
You gotta let people know there's certain lines you don't cross, and that there's gonna be consequences if you do.
Man up.
If you are an adult and you are in a relationship, that person's emotions are not your responsibility.
Man up. Manifestation. Man up. Manifestation. Man up. Manifestation.
A place where we inform, build, and inspire.
The devil, during slavery, destroyed the masculinity or manhood of the so-called Negro. No man. No man. Right now you got to be trained all over again to be a man.
When someone is obligated to do something, it is binding upon them to do it. And failure to do it causes reaction.
Man up.
Position make you rich. I don't have that type of richness. My richness is life forever.
If black people knew their glorious past, if black people knew their glorious past, if black people knew their glorious past, then they would be more inclined to respect themselves.
I'm not saying I'm going to rule the world or I'm going to change the world, but I guarantee that I will spark the brain that will change the world. And that's our job, is to spark somebody else watching us.
A place where we inform, build, and inspire.
Manifestations. Man up. Manifestations. Man up. Manifestations. Man up.
A place where we inform.
Manifestations.
A place where we inform, build, and inspire.
You want to tell me about yourself? Go get your friends. I'll tell you who you are based on who your friends are.
Don't just live and die. That's an ugly existence. Make your life matter, make your life count. Live a life where people can actually mourn you for the things you left behind, not just because you were around and existed.
We need strong black nuclear family.
Yes. Yes.
That's what it is. Mother, father, son, daughter, all in the same house with a focus on the family unit as a whole.
We had Tulsa, Atlanta, New Jersey, Detroit. We had Rosewood. We had Black Wall Streets all over.
The Republicans aren't for us, but the Democrats aren't for us either. And we should have no alliance to any political party. We only have alliance to what is in our own best interest.
A place where we inform, build, and inspire.
Manifestations. Man up. Manifestations. Man up. Manifestations. Man up.
A place where we inform.
Manifestations.
A place where we inform, build, and inspire.
At the end of the day, as men in the community, we must stand together and be counted because people look to us for guidance, leadership, and protection. And if we are not about that business, we are not on our job. Here we have grown-ass man conversations in the spirit of that purpose. Anthony Malcolm, Bobby Drake, Major Gage. We are. This is Manifestations 2020.
Manifestations. Man up. Manifestations.
A place where we inform, build, and inspire.